Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I welcome all of you to this exclusive program, TV talk shows and analysis. I, Dr. Muhammad Naik, am your host and moderator for this program. We have with us Dr. Zakir Naik. Dr. Zakir Abdul Karim Naik, President of the Islamic Research Foundation, is renowned as a dynamic international orator on Islam and comparative religion. Dr. Zakir is famous for his critical analysis to challenging questions posed by audiences after his public talks. In the last 13 years, he has delivered over 1,300 public talks worldwide. He has successfully participated in dialogues and debates with prominent personalities of other faiths. His public dialogue with Dr. William Campbell of USA in Chicago on April 1st, 2000 was a resounding success in presenting the compatibility of Quran with established science. His interfaith dialogue with the famous Indian guru C.C. Ravi Shankar on the topic, the concept of God in Hinduism and Islam in the light of sacred scriptures, held in Bangalore on 21st January 2006, was very well appreciated for propounding the oneness of God Almighty. The Indian Express included Dr. Zakir Naik in its list of the 100 most powerful Indians in 2009, as well as in 2010, amongst the billion-plus population of India. He was ranked at the third most powerful spiritual guru after Sri Ravi Shankar and Baba Ramdev in 2009, and this year in 2010 he superseded them too. Dr. Zakir appears regularly on many international TV channels throughout the world. He is the spirit and brain behind Peace TV, which is watched worldwide by over 100 million viewers. Dr. Zakir Naik stood out most eloquently for Islam and Muslims in his TV talk show, Walk the Talk, conducted by Shekhar Gupta, Editor-in-Chief of Indian Express, on the NDTV program, Walk the Talk, aired on 7th and 8th of March 2009. Dr. Zakir Naik appears regularly on many international TV channels in over 200 countries worldwide. Hundreds of his talks, dialogues and debates are available on VCDs and DVDs. He has authored books on Islam and comparative religion. Peace TV, his brainchild, has become one of his most impactful, unmitigated and far-reaching phenomena worldwide in creating a better awareness of Islam and removing misconceptions about Islam. The ever-increasing, over 100 million viewers, avid viewers of Peace TV, are evolving into mass defenders of the true, just and peaceful Islamic message for humanity at large, and challenging the negative stereotyping of Islam and Muslims worldwide by some powerful corporate media, anti-Islamic governments, and vested interests. As far as our topic for today goes, TV talk shows. A dictionary meaning of a TV talk show is a program during which well-known people discuss a topic or answer questions asked or telephoned in by the audience. We start today's program by asking our guest tonight, Dr. Zakir Naik, directly about the differences of these various talks and the formats they tend to follow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to our show, Dr. Zakir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's my pleasure.
Our audience here and all over who respect you so much would first of all like to be clear on this concept. What is the difference between a TV interview, a panel discussion, a TV talk show, and a TV talk?
Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. As far as the difference is concerned between a TV talk or a TV interview or a panel discussion or a TV talk show is that a TV talk is just a continuous talk given by a speaker or a specialist or a celebrity in front of a camera. He has got no audience, he's directly facing the camera, and there's no interruption whatsoever. As far as the TV interview is concerned, it is an interview taken by a host of a celebrity or a specialist in that field. The host asks questions to the celebrity or to the specialist, and he replies to the queries or the questions asked by the host. As far as the panel discussion is concerned, there are a few people on the panel, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, or many. All of them may be specialists concerning the subject in discussion. Or, in the panel, there may be two groups. One may be opposing the subject, one may be in favor of the subject. This is a panel discussion. And there is a moderator. And this moderator sees to it that he gives equal opportunity to all the panelists, and he gets the best out of the show. As far as a TV talk show is concerned, it has evolved recently in the past few decades after the television media has expanded. And in a TV talk show, it's a mixture. In a TV talk show, it may be a host who's interviewing the celebrity or the specialist. And while in interviewing, there may be a group of audience that is listening live, or he can throw the floor open to the people to ask questions on the phone line. If it's a live TV talk show, there can be people who are asking questions on the telephone. Or a TV talk show can be a panel discussion. There can be a few people who are there on the panel. And the moderator, he asks questions to the panelists, whether they belong to the same view or they may belong to opposing view. And while he's asking questions to the panelist, there may be a live audience which is watching. They too can take part in that TV talk show. Or the TV talk show can be thrown open to the people, if it's a live TV talk show, to the people who are watching, so that they can ask questions on the telephone. So these are basically the difference between a TV interview, TV talk, a panel discussion, and TV talk shows.
Jazakallah for that basic clarification. Do you personally prefer taking part in a TV interview, a panel discussion, a TV talk show, a TV talk, or a public lecture to present your viewpoint, and why?
If you give me the option amongst all 6, the best I would like is a public lecture, and second I would like is a TV talk. The reason is because in a public lecture and in a TV talk, there is no interruption. I can present my view without being interrupted, because normally if a host is there or if a moderator is there, there are chances, depending upon the moderator, I may be able to present my view, I may not be able to present my view, depending upon the intentions, etc. I prefer a public lecture and a TV talk as compared to the other 3, 4.
If you had a choice to take part in a public lecture or a TV talk, which would you prefer and why?
Compared to a public lecture and a TV talk, but natural, I would prefer a public lecture. Because a public lecture normally is in front of an audience. So, but natural, the impact of a speaker is higher. Speaking in front of a camera looks like a speaking in front of a wall. So I prefer personally speaking in public, giving a live lecture. But natural duration is longer. It can be maybe of half an hour or 1 hour or 1.5 hours. That's much better because in a public lecture normally I stand. In a TV talk you have to sit normally, though you can stand and also give a TV talk. And in a public lecture, it is much more interesting because you get the reaction of the audience. So when you get the reaction of the audience, the impact and the presentation of the speaker is better. And today's scientific research tells us that when a person gives a public speech or a lecture, 93% depends on his presentation skills. And 7% is the matter. 7% of the marks of the public lecture goes to the content, to the matter of what he speaks. 93% is the presentation skills, but natural, which involves body language, which involves modulation, gestures, eye-to-eye contact. Because when a person speaks, even his eye is speaking, even his hand is speaking. So I personally prefer a public lecture in which a person can present better. He can see the reaction of an audience as compared to a TV talk which is speaking in front of a camera.
Dr. Zakir, you have delivered over 1,000 public lectures worldwide. How many TV talks have you delivered?
But natural, the maximum that I've given in my life is public lectures. As far as TV talks are concerned, maybe a few hundred, I don't know the number, but it will be a few hundred, maybe 300-400 TV talks I've given, alhamdulillah.
Does that mean that you prefer giving lectures and TV talks only and avoid being questioned?
Now, as far as being questioned, I prefer the question and answer better than a public lecture. But being questioned by an interviewer and a moderator is different from being questioned by the public. I prefer being questioned by a questioner. That's the reason whenever I give a public talk, I prefer that the question and answer session is longer than the public lecture. Because a public talk or a public lecture is a monologue. It's a one-way traffic. In a question and answer session, it's a two-way traffic. It's much more interesting for the audience as well as for me. And it's challenging for me that I don't know what question the person is going to ask. So I prefer a question and answer session much better than a TV talk. And that's the reason when we handle question and answer session, when the program is organized by us or when I'm called by the host, I tell them, I prefer the question is asked live. I don't prefer chits. Because when someone gives chits, there are chances if you get maybe 30, 40, 100 questions, you can select what you want to answer. And then the audience may feel that, some questions Zakir has answered, some he hasn't answered. So I normally prefer that in a question and answer session, the questioner lines up behind the microphone and he asks the question live. So no one can say that I'm selecting what I want to answer. So whoever is first in the queue, in the microphone, he is the person who gets the chance. And I personally prefer giving an opportunity first to the non-Muslims, then to the Muslims, because they have a better right to know about Islam than the person who already is a Muslim. So that is the reason we prefer giving chance and opportunity to the non-Muslims. And I enjoy a question and answer session much more than the lecture.
How many TV interviews, panel discussions, or TV talk shows have you taken part in, and why?
As far as TV interviews are concerned, that also may be a few hundred TV interviews. As far as panel discussions are concerned, I don't know the exact number, maybe 50. Same with TV talk shows. I have attended many TV talk shows which are live, and I always prefer attending a TV talk show which is broadcast live, which is telecast live, in which a person's view cannot be edited. So I prefer attending TV talk shows which are broadcast live, rather than which are recorded and telecast later after a few days, after a few weeks. As far as panel discussions are concerned, maybe 30, 40, I don't know the exact number, but close to that.
Dr. Zakir, is it right, as most people presume, that you prefer appearing only on Muslim television channels?
Yes, as you asked me that what is the reason that I prefer speaking on a talk show and a public lecture as compared to giving an interview or having a panel discussion, where an interview is concerned, normally it also depends upon the intention and the integrity of the person taking the interview. And that more so ever is important in a panel discussion. The moderator is very important, because if the intentions and the integrity of the moderator are not correct, then there are high chances that the things you speak can be moderated, or it can be rather misrepresented. So what I really say, that the difference between a TV talk and a TV interview is that in a TV interview, the person asking you a question can ask you leading questions, which I've got no problem with, but sometimes they may not give you a chance to complete the answer. But a TV interview is far more safer than a panel discussion and a TV talk show. Because in a panel discussion, since there are many speakers who are there on the panel, maybe 3, 4 or more than that, here the intention and the integrity of the moderator as well as the producer of the show is important. Because if the moderator wants to promote a particular viewpoint which he prefers, he can give more chance to the panelist whose view he agrees with. And there are high chances that he can cut short the answer of the panelist who he doesn't agree with. So therefore, in a panel discussion, when the people are watching at home on the television, if they are not aware of the media, how the media works, they may not know what goes behind the scene. So the moderator can sway the panel discussion. And secondly, it's also important the view, the integrity, and the intention of the producer of the show. Because if the intention of the producer of the show is not correct, and he wants to promote a view, even if on the panel, if there's an expert who can prove the viewpoint of the producer wrong, in the post-production, he can edit the portion which he feels is going against his view. So when you see a TV talk show, you have to keep in mind that what is the integrity and the intention of the producer and the moderator. Because if you doubt the intention of the producer and the moderator and the integrity, what you see finally on the television, in the TV talk show or the panel discussion, can be edited. And there are many instances we can give where we can prove that how it can be done. For example, when you're taking an interview and suppose someone asks me that what are your views regarding the policies of George Bush, and suppose if I reply that I do not agree with the policies of George Bush, in the post-production you can easily edit do not, and it will sound in the show I am saying I agree with the policies of George Bush. Actually I said I do not agree with the policies of George Bush, but on the show it will appear that Zakir Naik is saying, by editing do not, I agree with the policies of George Bush. And if a person who's being interviewed, if he does not know the background of the media, and if he's shown his own interview, he may think, okay, it was a slip of the tongue. He may think, okay, by mistake I said, I agree with the policies of George Bush. So if you show his own interview, and if he does not know how the post-production is done, he will think it was a slip of the tongue. Actually, it wasn't a slip of the tongue. So that is the reason the integrity of the producer of the show and the moderator is very important. And this can even happen more in a panel discussion, where what can be done, that parts of the other panelists can be shown along with the person who you differ with. And he can be made to appear that he is agreeing with the view of the producer or the moderator. So therefore, a panel discussion is more dangerous as compared to a plain TV interview. So that's the reason I personally prefer giving a public lecture and a TV talk as compared to appearing on a TV interview or a panel discussion or TV talk show. But between the three, as I mentioned, I prefer a TV interview because there's less chances of editing. And even after you edit, if you have said everything correctly, there's less chance of manipulation. But if the intention of the moderator or the person who's the host, who's taking the interview, or the intention of the producer is evil, then there's little chance that you can undo it. In a panel discussion, the moderator has more flexibility of putting down the person he wants to put down and uplifting a person who he wants to uplift. So, a panel discussion, I personally prefer being out of a panel discussion unless I'm sure that the integrity of the moderator and the person who's conducting the show and the producer, it is honest and I believe in it. I normally prefer staying out of panel discussions.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir, for explaining that point. We understand this integrity and intention are very vital for you, but we are ultimately human. We may err in this judgment. Ultimately, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is absolute in this kind of understanding. Dr. Zakir, on how many non-Islamic Indian television channels have you appeared on for TV interviews, panel discussions, or TV talk shows? And what is your experience about these appearances?
As far as appearing on non-Muslim TV channels for TV interviews, for TV talk shows, the panel discussion, I have attended more of the foreign ones, foreign TV channels than Indian TV channels. Many times in UK, in South Africa, in USA, in many countries, in different parts of the world. As far as Indian TV channels are concerned, as far as my memory goes, maybe I've attended approximately 5. I remember the first one that I attended was a talk show conducted by Farooq Sheikh, and the program was Mard, and the topic of that program was Biwi Ho To Kaisi. You know, that was the first one I attended. And the second one that I remember is I had a panel discussion. It was a live show done by CNN IBN, and I was in the Bombay studios of CNN IBN, and there were 2 panelists from Delhi. That was the second one. And third one, as far as memory goes, was a TV interview that was conducted by R.K. Bajaj on the RKB show. That's on Sahara channel. And the fourth one, again I think, was the TV interview. it was a different type, on Walk the Talk by Shekhar Gupta, who is the editor-in-chief of Indian Express, on NDTV. And the last one recently, just 2 weeks back, or rather 3 weeks back, it was aired 2 weeks back, on the NDTV, and the program was We the People, which was conducted by Barkhadat, and the topic was Muslim identity. So these were the 5 programs as far as memory goes.
With only 5 programs you appeared on. All these years, with thousands of lectures on one side and only 5 programs.
If you ask,
you got an opportunity only for that.
I've been asked hundreds of times to appear for talk shows and for panel discussions, at least few hundred, by many channels. You name the channels, you could say easily, most of the channels that have talk shows. I've been asked to appear on many of them, at least a few hundred times. But personally knowing that because I already do come on various other satellite channels, I don't want my views to be changed or to be altered. Because of that, I know what the background is. And I personally don't really think that most of the shows that take place are with the true intention of the topic. Because I doubt that, since for a normal man it's different. For me, since I'm a man of the media, and I appear on various satellite channels, and Peace TV alone, alhamdulillah, has a viewership of more than 100 million. And that is absolutely, it's a direct view, without the producer of these public lectures or TV shows, without altering the view, and I trust the integrity of the other Muslim channels. That's the reason, because I know that they will not change my view. I've appeared several times on Muslim channels. Because of that, I take care, because I had very bad experiences in these past few TV talk shows. So because of bad experiences, and when I speak to other people who have been on the show, they too have that. And I really agree with you when you said that we cannot actually judge one's integrity until we have proof for the same. Now, because I have spoken with other people who have been on the talk shows, I'm talking about those people who know the media. A person who does not know the media, and if he goes on a talk show, he will not know what goes behind the curtain. So once the talk show is aired, then you can say and be sure what was the integrity of the moderator and what was the integrity of the producer.
For us as lay people to understand how the TV talk shows and the interviews present your viewpoint properly on the positive side and manipulated on the other side. Can you relate to us your experiences, TV talk shows, maybe your first talk show with Farooq Sheikh in brief?
The first talk show I don't remember the year exactly, somewhere I think close to the early part of the 2000 or late part of the 1990s. That was the first TV talk show I attended in India. And as I told you, the program's name was Mard. And the topic of that show was Biwi Ho To Kaisi. And that called a Christian to represent their view. They called a Hindu, and they called myself, and they called an atheist. There were about 4 or 5 people in the panel, and the audience like the way we have here. And they asked that how should a woman be, how should she behave, and everyone gave their view, even I gave their view. And when I started speaking, and while I was convinced when I give a reply, but naturally I give with reason and logic. So at the end of the show, the answer that I gave, most of the panelists agreed with it. Initially they may have differed, but when I gave the reasoning, that's more important for a woman to look after children, look after the home, not that she can't work, as long as work is modest, she can go and work, and all these things. So the show went off very well. And the moderator, Farooq Sheikh, he was a gentleman. And I was very happy that the first show that I did on the Indian television channel, I was very happy, fine, I gave the answer, the audience questioned me, and they criticized me, they attacked me, I gave the reply. Now when I gave the reply, the other audience agreed with my reply. That's what I do normally in a live question and session. They ask me a question, I give a reply, and I'm giving equal opportunity. And Farooq Sheikh did a good job. But the bombshell came later on. A few days later on, I got a call from the channel saying that the program did not end the way the producer wanted. So we are going to have a reshoot. So please wear the same suit, same shirt, same tie, same dress, and come for the show, we're having a reshoot. And when I got this message from my manager, I said, this is nonsense. Program was fine. There's no problem in it. So we told that, surely we won't be coming, because we felt the program went perfectly fine. So they had the reshoot in the same studio, in the same setup. Maybe all the other panelists came, but I did not go. Maybe most of the audience came. They had a reshoot, and after a couple of weeks, they had that aired on the television satellite channel. And the best part of it was, when anyone sees the show, they are seeing me sitting there, nodding the head, many a time, to things which I did not nod at. So what they did, they reshot the whole thing, and they changed the view, though I did not go the second time, but when they telecast it on air, it was shown as though it was shot once, and Dr. Zakir Naik was there, and was agreeing with the wrong things also. So this shows that the integrity of the producer was absolutely unjust. I don't blame the moderator. I mean, Farooq Sheikh, I can't blame him, he's being paid for his job. He did a good job initially. What he did next, I don't know, so I can't comment on that. But the end of the story is that when it was aired, it was made to look that Dr. Zakir Naik, fine, I did speak, and they showed portions of my answers which suited them more than the other part. But when it was aired on the channel, it was shown many a time that the views that I did not agree with, I was shown that as though I agreed with it. So this is what I mean by saying the integrity is very important. So what I say, that these shows, the producer and the moderator, they are doing it for their living. I'm not giving a speech for my living. I'm not here to speak about Islam for my living. I don't take a single penny from anyone. In fact, we give. You know? So, because it is a bread and butter, many a time, the producer, they make a show which is liked more by the audience. They are more bothered about making what will sell more or will have a higher TRP rather than to know what is the truth. Same thing with the moderator. If the moderator is commanded by the producer and he chooses the moderator has little say in it. Or if the producer is neutral and the moderator wants to change the show, the moderator can change the show and the producer doesn't bother. So therefore both are important, the moderator as well as the person who's the producer. So the first show I had went off very well, but the end result, because they reshot it, it was a disaster.
But then you again trusted CNN IBN for another program.
That's
Your
right.
experience on
That
that?
was after many years. I don't know when I think I gave it after maybe 7-8 years after I appeared for the first show. I think it was maybe 2007, I believe, when I went for the CNN IBN show.
Your experience on that?
There, because it was a live panel discussion, and the issue I think was something to do with Muslims. I don't remember the main topic of that. It was done by
Rajdeep Sardesai. And Rajdeep Sardesai, he was sitting in Delhi, and there were a few panelists in Delhi. One of them, as my memory goes, was the MP. I forgot the name, who was the editor of the Muslim India. Syed Shahabuddin.
Syed Shahabuddin, correct. Syed Shahabuddin was there, and there were other couple of people in Delhi, and I was alone in Bombay. That too was not a good experience because I was hardly allowed to speak, only twice. And when I said something, it wasn't heard there because the microphone is in their hand. So though it was a live show, I could only speak when I was allowed to speak. See, normally in a panel discussion, live, when I speak, the microphone is on, no one can cut me. But here I was in Bombay, they were in Delhi. And I was hearing from the headphone, which was through a mobile, I think, I don't know. So there were questions asked, though it was a live show. It was a live show, they were telecast live, but because of this problem that my microphone didn't work until they pressed the button. So there too, it was not a good experience. But because it was live, it didn't do much damage. Only thing that, fine, Dr. Zakir Naik didn't say much or wasn't given an opportunity since it was a live show. It was being telecast live. Because of that, I felt that there wasn't much damage except that I was not given enough opportunity.
They say twice hurt, third time shy. But then again you jumped into the ring. You went in and you appeared on the Rashtriya Sahara's RKB show. And its host, RK Bajaj, most people believe he is usually very critical about Muslims. That's what I understand. Why?
The reason I jumped for the third time was, it was an interview. The first two, the first was a panel discussion or a talk show with the live audience. They were telecast later on. The second was a live telecast. So both were bad experiences. The third was a TV interview. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that in a TV interview, less damage can be done, but damage can be done. So initially I refused, but when I came to know it's a live telecast, then I thought, fine, the damage that can be done is this, they cannot edit my speech. So because it was a live telecast, and whatever that I was saying in the studios of Sahara, it was going live, I did not mind attending it, even though it was RKB. And I should say that, though Mr. R.K. Bajaj did ask questions and tried to promote a view which he knows will create differences in the Muslim audience, and he did ask certain questions, but because it was live, overall the show was good, because I could answer what I wanted to answer, and there was no editing post-show. So based on that, I went for the RKB show the third time.
And then last year, we had Shekhar Gupta, the editor-in-chief of Indian Express, interviewing you on his very famous show, Walk the Talk. Was it because you were selected among the 100 most powerful Indians by the Indian Express? 100 most powerful Indians? That, or some other reasons you agreed to go on his interview? And what was the experience there?
See, normal my answer when anyone wants to take my interview. Fine, as you asked me, Indian channels appear. These are the exclusive TV interviews I'm talking about. There are many snippets I've given to various other Indian channels which I used to give earlier on ETV, Urdu and many other snippets, asking my view on certain issues. Even that has stopped now. Because when I give an answer for 5 minutes, they edit 1 minute and show. So besides these 5, I've been on many other Indian channels. But mainly these are small comments on certain issue taking place, whether it be on education for Muslims or whether such topics. Coming to this, why did I accept the interview?
Especially because Shekhar Gupta puts many a prime minister and top leaders of the world in a very hot seat. That's why we're asking you this special question.
So the first time when they asked me to appear for the interview, my answer was no. But then my colleagues and my friends told, that Shekhar Gupta, Walk the Talk, is one of the best interviews that is held in the country. It has the highest TRP, and I, because I don't watch much of the channels, though I'm a man of the media, I appear on TV channels, but I personally don't watch much of television. I did not know what was Walk the Talk until my friends and my colleagues, they told me, it is a very important interview conducted. It's one of the best in which the editor-in-chief of Indian Express, Shekhar Gupta, he conducts this interview. And he's a man of integrity, and he normally interviews presidents, prime ministers, and celebrities of a very high level, and he's a man who you can trust. But before I conducted the interview, I saw to it that I spoke to him. And 1 week before he conducted the interview, he came from Delhi and he spoke to me for more than an hour. And when we interacted, I asked him that after you record this program, which will be talk show while walking, Walk the Talk, I asked him that will it be shown completely or will you edit it? He said it will be unedited. You can take from me my word that 99% unedited, maybe a little bit here or there if you have to, fit in the time duration. So he gave me the word that he will not edit. And he'll see to it that my view is not altered. So because he gave this word to me, and I checked up his background, and I trusted my colleague, I agreed for the interview, which he came to Bombay again from Delhi, and we had the talk on the Worli sea face, where it was again for approximately 1 hour. With the ads, it was approximately 45 to 50 minutes. And I believe it was the best experience that I had with the Indian TV channels. And I trust that Mr. Shekhar Gupta, he's a man of his word. And when I saw the interview, I was very happy. He did not edit anything. He did not change my view. Though the same questions that were so challenging were asked by him. He gave me chance to clarify. I gave my point of view. And believe me, he was a man of his word. He did not edit anything, and he kept it as it is. And that's the reason I liked that show. And that show, next day after it was telecast, for the first time, it came as a full-page article on all 21 or 22 editions of Indian Express throughout India. So really that was, besides coming on the television satellite channel, it even came as an article, a full-page article, in all the editions of Indian Express.
That's really courageous, and that's what makes India, in one way, very great. When you have courageous people like Shekhar Gupta presenting various viewpoints for what they are, whether the Islamic viewpoint whether it's the Maoist viewpoint, whether it's a communist, and different. And we have to really congratulate him on that. Talk. Why, what, where, when, how. It's something we all ought to know, whether we are a host or whether we are the interviewee in a discussion, whether we are in a panel, a team, being asked questions, in our own personal settings at home, or in public forums reaching out to the world. But more important so, how upright, with what integrity, with what sincerity we say what we say, and do we do what we say, makes a lot of difference in the world we live in. So we get on with our analysis of today. TV talk shows. How are they conducted? What impact they have on us? And how people pass their critical, approving, and mixed comments on them. We left off before the break on the topic, the last TV talk show Dr. Zakir had attended. Dr. Zakir Naik was invited by one of the leading TV hosts in India, Barkha Dutt, on the NDTV program, Breaking the Stereotype, Muslim Identity and Popular Culture. Many of us saw the program, many were displeased with it. Some felt it was okay. Some were very happy about it. But Dr. Zakir Naik carries a respect of a scholar, a knowledgeable and wise one at that, on Islam as well as on comparative religion. And we had hundreds and hundreds of emails expressing displeasure on the fact that, being more knowledgeable, his analogy didn't find right conclusions in the talk show. Neither did he have adequate opportunity to present the truth. On this we come to the broader question. How was this talk show conducted? Before we ask Dr. Zakir Naik himself about the program, his comments, his introspection, I would like to present the feelings, the comments, the analysis from the hundreds of emails that we have received, mostly from the NDTV website itself and many from the Facebook as well as a few from the other websites before our audience. Let us see how they feel about it. And of course, we have amongst us a panel of enlightened people on this topic, breaking the stereotype, Muslim identity and popular culture, who have strong opinions of the subject. Many brothers here behind me, on my right, on my left. We'll take questions from them too, get their comments before we move on to the session of Dr. Zakir Naik himself giving his expert comments. I would prefer to verbatim put forward before all of you and our audience the email comments verbatim without, as a moderator, manipulating any of the words they have written, so that I'm not charged of the critical comment. Maybe you cut and chopped off and didn't give an adequate meaning. So kindly excuse me if some of the spellings or the sentence construction might not be very appropriate, but it's apt to the situation that we present them as we receive them. I begin with short comments which we received in large quantities. Comments like from Tahur Razia, Dr. Zakir Naik, we are waiting for your sequel, Jazakallah Khair. From Manzoor Ahmad, give answers to all of that questions in Peace TV. I was upset to see you in debate. 1 hour is not enough for that debate. We had, in the earlier instance itself, a long comment from one brother, Imran Ali. I would urge your patience to hear his comments, which I found very introspective. The moment I heard Dr. Zakir Naik is taking part in the NDTV talk, we the people, I made myself available to see how this time Barkha Dutt is going to sideline the arguments of a renowned personality. Well, I forgot that there is a level of dishonesty from her side using which she can sideline just about anyone. As expected, he was not given enough chance to speak, and the focus was completely on Shah Rukh Khan of Bollywood. Not just that, second person who got the chance to speak more was Karan Johar. Dr. Zakir Naik needs to understand that such shows are meant to just punch each other's arguments with a single liner. One cannot try to explain big concepts in just few seconds. Although his statements were bold, huge and true, too much of noise pollution sidelined them to some extent. To top this, Barkha Dutt, as expected, did not give fair time to Dr. Zakir Naik. This was clearly evident. But hold on, that's Dr. Zakir Naik. He just doesn't walk away without really sparking a thought process in people's mind, irrespective of how much time he is given. And as I thought, he did the same. If you carefully observe his statements, they tickled the brain of the viewers who would later go and check its authenticity. He knew there were millions of people watching the show, including viewers who don't watch Peace TV. And he took this as a golden opportunity to ignite the spark of reinvestigating the 9/11 attack, which was the origin of this entire concept of terrorism and Muslims getting stereotyped. He clearly informed there were 75 DVDs released of top American analysts and professors who proved that 9/11 was an inside job. He also quoted two websites' names before Barkha Dutt cut him off. He quoted http 911truth.org and one more site name which slipped my mind. People would surely go back and check these and hence find out the truth for themselves. So even though time given to him was not fair, he completed his job. He made the following punchlines. There is nothing called moderate or liberal Muslim. There is only practicing Muslim, partially practicing Muslim, and non-practicing Muslims. It is the duty of a Muslim to tell others about the truth of Islam. Blaming Osama bin Laden or Taliban to be terrorists based on CNN and BBC versions is wrong and unfair. It is important to give fair hearing to such allegations and check the truth before blaming someone to be a terrorist. The videos shown are nothing but morphed, which generally the media is good at. 9/11 was an inside job and cannot be performed by Arabs. Physical appearance, beard, cap, etc. do not come under the 70 major sins of Islam. So there are more important things over and above the physical appearance in Islam. But to follow complete Islam, physical look also is important. These statements were more than enough to make people think twice about their stance. Shah Rukh himself was carefully listening to these arguments and looked impressed. That's my observation. Maybe I'm wrong. Also, he boldly spoke out the truth without fearing anyone. Unlike others, his confidence showed his trust on Allah and how he can go to any limit to speak the truth without fearing anything. Based on this email on the website by Imran Ali, we had responses which are interesting too of one or two other brothers. Mustafa Hussain responds, "May peace, mercy and blessings of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on all of you. Today, I happened to see the program We the People, in which all the Bollywood people were there, along with Brother Zakir. And I'm totally unhappy to tell that the media once again played double standards. Barkha Dutt, supposed to be a generalist, forgot the rights of time allotment. Many questions asked to Zakir Bhai were given only maximum 30 seconds to answer, whereas others were given 2 to 3 minutes. All the answers to the questions were interrupted by others to cut down Brother Zakir's answers and get it out of context. Just see the double standards of the media. I request all the people reading this message to stand up and do the best to stop this evil. as there is a Sahih Hadith that whoever sees the evil around him should stop with his hand. If not, then tongue. If not, at least by the heart. This is the lowest level of Iman. According to me, these media people have cheated Zakir Bhai, or else he wouldn't have accepted those sort of rules. However much people try to suppress Islam, inshallah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will grow more than that, inshallah. This comment was followed by another brother, Brother Naveed. He says, Allah is always with the truth. This media themselves show that they were wrong and not true people. As Allah said, truth stands out clear from falsehood. Though Brother Zakir Naik was not given chance, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the world through their channel how patient he was and peaceful to tolerate their injustice. If Shah Rukh Khan and others want to lead their lives according to their perspective without following the rules of Allah, they are at loss and not realizing it now. But when the truth will come in front of them, till that time it will be very late for them to tell now, I want to be a practicing Muslim. They may live a wealthy and famous life in this world, but what will be their fate after they die? Not thinking? Maybe Allah gave hidayah to all humankind to walk on the straight path and give Brother Zakir Naik more knowledge and power to stand firm for Islam and protect him always. Ameen. All our prayers are with him. To this, there's a response from a true Indian Muslim. That's how he calls himself. If anyone should be downcast out there, it should be Dr. Zakir. He supposedly is a learned scholar and knows the ins and outs of Islam, or so he says. He says Osama is not responsible for the 9/11. He's spreading a wrong word again, and that's a bad move, as he has many followers. I'm sorry, but I beg to differ on this. Websites, journals, media might say what they want, but a person's words can be altered. What attire is Dr. Zakir dressed in? Why does he pose for photos in a suit? Why not wear the dress of the Arabs when he proclaims to go all out on Islam? Considering this man has so many followers, he shouldn't spread a wrong word saying Taliban, Osama, etc. wasn't responsible for 9/11. That's absolutely wrong. I don't go by what CNN, BBC or any other biased channels have said, but by the people themselves who have taken ownership of what's happened. I don't think anywhere in our religion has something been mentioned as killing the innocent to prove a point. In fact, no religion teaches that. So again I wonder what these extremists were playing at. The fact that he perceives that Taliban and Osama aren't responsible for 9/11 doesn't go down well with the audience. More judgments about Islam are made by the general public thanks to this hero. It is very easy for us to sit in one safe country, state, and enjoy the luxuries of living it up. Go try living in Congo, Mozambique, Iraq, Zaire, etc. The extremists from other religions will massacre you. Extremism in any form and any religion is nasty. It's an evil to society. It should be suppressed. By doing anything in excess, even a fruit of Jannah can turn into poison. By writing this mail, I didn't mean to hurt anyone's sentiments. I'm sorry if I have. Instead, I want to just reach out to all of you in my own little way to tell you that although I'm not a 5 times namazi, I do have certain values in me that I believe are in line with what Islam preaches. I'm sure all of you are far better pious and balanced Muslims than me. I firmly believe that in my own little way, I will try to make people change their wrong perception about Islam by projecting Islam to be tolerant, humanity-respecting religion. Cheers. I and P.S. Barkha or nobody else was being biased. If anyone is biased, it is Dr. Zakir. Come on, it's a freaking debate where there will be differences of opinion, not one-tracked conversation. Brothers and sisters, you would have noticed we have had some positive comments, some critical. This was one of the comments which was critical of the earlier statements. I'm presenting the various viewpoints in a balanced format before all of you, so you appreciate the kind of responses we are getting to the program. Some positive, some neutral, some critical. Then we have a response to this email on the same site by Sarfaraz Ali Khan. Walaikum assalam to all who wished me, and assalamu alaikum for others to join later. This is in response to True Indian Muslim had said about the show. As my brother has said, he doesn't have to go to the CNN or BBC to check whether Osama planned the 9/11 attacks. If he did not see it on the media channels, then where did he see it, and on which channel he saw that Osama took ownership? Or which newspaper did he read in? See, I am not supporting Osama. If he has done it, we condemn. But if he has not, then brother, just on the basis of suspicion, 50,000 Afghanis were killed. I would like to ask you, have you seen Loose Change? If you have not, then see it. This documentary has not been done by any Muslim. It has been done by an American. And you will see that the Taliban, speaking in English, though you might not understand Arabic, they asked for a proof from the Americans that Osama was behind it. And they said, if they provide it, then they themselves will hand over Osama. This telecast was just shown once on the news channels, and after that it was never shown. Brother, you said go to Iraq, Zaire, Congo. Brother, I would like to just wear the Muslim attire and go to Assam. The Ulfa is going to butcher you like anything. They are specially trained to kill Muslims. 749 confirmed attacks. Guess what Zakir Naik did? In his full attire, gave a public speech. Alhamdulillah, this is the power of Islam, to walk on the way of Allah. If you are not doing your duty, don't ask others to stop doing dawah. I appreciate that you are trying to teach others in your own sweet way. But what about the rest who would teach them? This man runs a channel which is viewed by over 70 million people. It has outbeaten God TV. Brother, our job is to deliver the message, not to convert them, so that on the judgment day you can give the shahada that you delivered his message to them. But at least try. And who knows, you might open the doors of heaven for someone. And this man has opened the doors to heaven for hundreds of people. May Allah give peace and show all of us the right path. That was a long and interesting discussion and comments on this article initiated by Imran Ali. We have Brother Manoj Mishra, a non-Muslim, who has given this interesting comment. It's strange that a person of Dr. Zakir Naik's caliber and fame, an expert in the field of comparative religion, is not given time to speak, but instead people like Soha Ali, Shah Rukh Khan, and lesser known Kabir Khan is given all the time to speak on issues which they hardly know. Let the specialist of that field speak out rather than novices of the field. Yes, if Soha or SRK or Kabir Khan or Salman Khan speak about films, it's okay. Though I am a Hindu and have seen Dr. Zakir Naik speaking on Peace TV and debating live around the globe on the various topics of comparative religion and related issues, I can tell you he is uncomparable. Barkha, by not giving time to Dr. Naik, has done great injustice to the stature of the person. Dr. Naik is Dr. Naik. Dr. Naik should never come to any TV debate where he is not allowed to speak or express his views. Thanks. Thanks. Humayun Kabir says, I have watched the videos. Dr. Zakir Naik should not have gone there. Nobody was stopped before they finished talking, but Dr. Naik was stopped every time when he was about to finish his explanation. If you ask an engineer to help a cancer patient, what will happen? I feel sorry for Dr. Zakir Naik again. Allah helps us all. Sajjad, Ahangar says, it was ridiculous to listen to some people who talked about things of which they had no idea whatsoever, and each one tried to formulate a definition for Islam just to fit his or her practicing of the religion, if they do any. It was equally disgusting to see Barkhan never letting Dr. Zakir speak on anything. He was the most knowledgeable person on the podium, but sadly made a mute spectator. We have a non-Muslim sister, name is Kirti Mishra. She says, we the people is not representative and totally undemocratic. We means Barkha and her leftist friends who show and talk their biased opinions, and a majority of the people's opinion is sidelined. What a mockery of neutral journalism. We have another non-Muslim brother, Vijay Lugani, who says, more we discuss about minority communities, more we create problems for them. Everybody in our country should feel equal to each other. Nobody should be suspicious to each other. If somebody does or act against the law should take its course. SRK was best in discussion. Before I go on with the further comments, I would like to throw open the floor for comments from our learned brothers, our audience collected here today. We thank you for your patient listening to these long comments and initiation of understanding of this topic, TV talk shows and analysis. May I request the brothers who would like to put forward their comments first, and later on any question. We'll allow questions later on to Dr. Zakir. I would like your comments regarding the TV talk shows. Yes, brother.
Well, my observation and comment on the program of NDTV 24/7 was that Dr. Zakir Naik was the only person out of the 8 speakers who did not interject any speaker. And all the others in the panel continuously kept on interjecting. The most out of them was Alec and Kabir. In fact, Kabir interjected Dr. Zakir Naik at least 3 times. It was as though he was asked to cut short whenever he was about to speak. And if you notice that Dr. Zakir Naik kept raising his hands for about more than 75% of the time of the entire program, and what was shown on the TV was just that raising once or maybe twice. So the program was definitely edited over there. What I would say is that Dr. Zakir Naik was the only person out there who was following the rules of the program like a true Muslim, in spite of him being sidelined for the entire program.
Thank you, Jazakallah. Any brother? Any comments here? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. After I watched the program, I feel that Barkha, she made it clear that she did not want Dr. Naik to clear his viewpoints. And she purposely asked the controversial question of Osama bin Laden. And when Dr. Naik, he tried to clear that by saying that we can base our opinions on the news of BBC and CNN. So she cut him down and she disagreed with him. Whereas on the other side, when Karan Johar, he narrated an incident which inspired him to make the movie My Name is Khan. And he said that he saw a bunch of people, a bunch of educated people. Some of them were even passed out from Oxford University. And he said that they were saying bad things about Islam. And Karan Johar said that how can someone go against the Muslim community just basing their opinions on some information which the New York Times gives or the media or the news. At that time, Barkha, she agreed with Karan Johar. So over here we see the double standards of Barkha. One side she disagreed with Dr. Naik, and the other side she agreed the viewpoint of Karan Johar. So I, being a fan of Dr. Naik, I feel very offended that Dr. Naik did not get a chance to clear his viewpoints. And I really look forward that Dr. Naik comments on this issue.
Yeah. Inshallah, we'll ask Dr. Zakir. But before that, we'd put the floor open for more comments from our audience. Any brother? Yes, brother. Can we have your name, and profession before you put forward a question?
My name is Mohsin Khan, and I'm a freelancer. When I got to know that Dr. Naik had been to We the People show with Barkha and Shah Rukh Khan, I just bombarded it on the internet like anything. I had a SMS group, Facebook, fan pages and all, and I bombarded it like anything. I know a guy from Pakistan, his name is Fareed Ahmed. He told me that, are you sure Dr. Naik is going to come on NDTV? Because I've sent lakhs of messages on Pakistan so that people will be watching it. So I said, yeah, this is why I've got to know, and there is surety. But after watching this program, it was like, oh my God, why Dr. Zakir Naik even accepted it? Like, you know, in whole 1 hour program, just for 2-3 minutes, though, alhamdulillah, Dr. Zakir Naik made a point and did pass on the message, like the last message was given, the Muslims should know how to reply in the media, alhamdulillah. He made a point, and I feel like people will keep hunting him, like on the internet, on YouTube, here and there. Alhamdulillah, I feel Allah is the best planner, and inshallah it will definitely benefit us. And Jazakallah for this program. Inshallah, I hope this will clear many questions which arise on the lakhs and millions of people around the world. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, brother. Any last comment here before I put forward some questions to Dr. Zakir? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Aman. I saw the entire program from A to Z, and the whole program was a total mess. I feel Barkadat was not able to handle it well, and according to me, the emptiest vessel made the most noise, especially that person, what's his name is? Kabir. Unknown person, never heard of him. Who and under what authority he came to speak on Islam? Thank you.
Jazakallah, brothers, for your kind comments. Now I think we have some comments and responses from Dr. Zakir to some of the queries raised here, as well as some of the questions. You know, so many hundreds and hundreds of questions we received. What I thought would be the right format is to club some of the questions on the same theme and on the same context together, 5 or 6 questions. And I'm sure Dr. Zakir was the kind of memory as he'll remember all of them and try to do justice to them. I read out some of the questions, you know, we received, either on the website, sometimes on the NDTV website, some on the Facebook, and some by email received the IRF itself. Harun Ahsan, he asked, Dr. Zakir, I am very much disappointed. You should not have attended such a show. Sayyid Usaid Ahmad Rezvi, he says, I really like a sentence for Dr. Zakir in that program, irrespective of what happened. He says, there is nothing like moderate Muslim or full Muslim. It is just practicing or not practicing Muslims. But I still think Dr. Naik shouldn't have attended this. We have Brother Abrar Khan who says, Assalamu alaikum. I didn't understand why the hell Mr. Naik visited the show conducted by few, I can't say that word, dash holes, where he was not allowed to speak and where image of Islam has been liberalized and put with wrong picture. Does a person with full of knowledge should attend that kind of programs or functions? Then there is Abrar Khan. He says, Wassalam. I too personally respect Mr. Naik a lot and I praise him all the time. But what he done was a very embarrassing decision. And lastly, I'd put forward this question of Brother Fayyaz War. He says, I also agree. Dr. Zakir shouldn't have dialogue with Barkha. She knows nothing of economy, religion, statesmanship, culture. I was upset to see some people have just superficial knowledge of Islam and world, and they just say rubbish like SRK and Sohali. It was partly publicity stunt for my name is Khan. Ubaid Muhammad, I am wondering how Dr. Zakir Naik, sir, accepted invitation for this show. I request, sir, not to attend such programs. So we directly throw all these suggestions, questions, the perspective of the many audiences who look up to Dr. Zakir himself. I think he is the best person to answer them, not we all. So let's get over to Dr. Zakir himself. Yes, Dr. Zakir, feel free to comment on whatever has been spoken till now.
This question, why did I attend this talk show, We the People, on NDTV? This has been asked to me a few hundred times in the past 2 weeks, personally, on email, on telephone, from people in Bombay, from people in different parts of India, from people in different parts of the world. And many people told me, those who know me personally, that after the show you had with Farooq Sheikh, after seeing the deceit, how did you attend this show? And after the show that I attended with Farooq Sheikh on Mard, though I don't blame him, I blame the producer, I always had a condition. As I mentioned earlier, I received a few hundred invitations in the past couple of years. A few hundred, maybe 1,000, from different channels in India, asking me to attend TV talk shows, panel discussions, chat shows. And I put the condition that it should either be live and unedited, or let us have our own camera crew of at least 6 to 7 cameras to shoot the talk show, so that if you edit something, we'll show it live on our channel. And when the first time I received the invitation for the talk show on NDTV, We the People, I wasn't there in the country, so it was refused. When they again approached, then I put the condition that we want to have our cameras on the talk show, and it was agreed by the coordinator who was coordinating and calling me for the show. So my manager, Maqbool, he said, if you allow us to have our cameras on the talk show, then Dr. Naik will come. And he said, that won't be a problem. He readily agreed. So I said, no problem. If they do some editing, then surely we can add the unedited version on the other channels. So that was the reason that I decided to attend this talk show. But unfortunately, just one day before the talk show, the coordinator told me that, Mr. Zakir, you know, we're having the program in Taj Lands, and when I spoke to him personally, and the place is so small, we're already having our 6 cameras, and you being a man of media, you know how difficult it is to accommodate more cameras. I knew this is just an excuse. I'm a man of media. In the Taj Land, I can accommodate more than 12 cameras. This place is smaller than Taj Lands, and here we have 9 cameras. Taj Lands, 5-star hotel, is multiple times bigger than this. When here we can have 9 cameras, why can't we have it there? So I knew it was just an excuse, but then I asked a condition, that will you give me an unedited version of the complete show on a digital Betacam format, or DV cam, whichever you're shooting on. I'm not aware whether NDTV shoots on digital Betacam or DV cam, but we normally shoot only on digital Betacam or something better. So he told me, yes, Dr. Zakir Naik, that I can do. I'll give you an unedited version immediately after the show, which is of broadcast quality, and with this condition, I attended the show. But, alas, when I inquired with other people, when the show got over, and when we asked for the unedited version, they said, okay, we'll give it to you very shortly, you know, maybe after its telecast. So I said, fine, that's fine, after telecast, so that we don't utilize the material. Then after the show was telecast, when my manager inquired for the copy, they gave after several days, that also on DVD. And it wasn't an unedited version, it was the same edited version which was shown on the television. What is the use of giving that? We already have recorded that. And initially when I attended the program, people told me that Barkhadat, you know, she's very challenging, she's outspoken, and she has a ways in trying to make a person say what she wants to say. But I said, no problem, since the show will be unedited with me, there's not a problem. And with that intention I went for the show. And though I know that she did give me less time, initially the coordinator asked me to come on the show. I asked how many people are there. So he told me there is Shah Rukh Khan, Karan Johar, Alik Padamsi, and he said Maulana Madni from Kerala. So I said, Maulana Madni from Kerala? I don't know any Maulana Madni from Kerala. I said, I want to know the full name. And he said, no, I'm sorry. It is Maulana Mahmood Madni from Delhi. Oh, I know the person, mashallah, he's a close friend of mine. So I said, fine, since there are 4 panelists and I'm the 5th one, seeing the situation, the more the number of panelists, the less chance a person gets, even if it's divided. But unfortunately, when I went on the show, I saw there were additional 3. Besides the 4 he mentioned, there was Najib Jung, I met him for the first time, the Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia from Delhi, and Kabir, who I was told is a film producer or film director, I'm not sure, and Soh Ali Khan. So 3 additional panelists, so it became 8. But when I went on the show, I realized that even the time that is given to me, if we feel divided, it would be less. But though the show, according to me, I was given less time, but in spite of the other things, I said, fine, at least I made a few points, and even if these are shown, there will not be a problem. But when I saw the show 1 week later on, I was shocked. I was utterly shocked that my answers were edited. And especially those answers which were critical and would put me on the wrong side. That's the time I said that the intention of the producer of the program and the intention of the moderator has to be verified. Because the answer that I gave on Osama bin Laden, most of the people who see me on the television, they know it very well. I don't want to repeat the answer. But when I mentioned that irrespective, whoever has done the 9/11 attack, whether it's George Bush or Osama bin Laden, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, whoever has done it should be condemned. That part was edited. So when you edit a major portion of it, the act has to be condemned. If you don't know the person, you cannot blame a person without proof. So I condemn the act irrespective of whoever did it. So when that part is edited, it shows as though I'm a supporter of Osama bin Laden. I'm neither a supporter, neither I'm against him because I don't know. And as brother rightly said, when I'm telling I don't know because I cannot base my view on BBC and CNN, Barkada says, come on, Dr. Zakir, as though I'm telling a lie. Same thing Karan Johar says, that he got angry at about 6 non-Muslims, 3 of them who are investment bankers, 2 of them Oxford University graduates, when they speak against Muslims, and he said, how can you blame the whole community just on news, got on New York Times and news channel? She says, yeah. So this shows the double standards, and rightly brother said, that when she's agreeing with Karan Johar who says, you cannot base your views on New York Times and news channels, and when I say I cannot base my views of Osama bin Laden based on BBC and CNN, she immediately interjects, and she's cutting me down. So this shows the intention that the moderator was biased. She was not truthful. So that's the reason the whole show, what I thought, at least I'll make my point, I did not expect her to be so unjust, and the producer, that they cut my answers. And they did not do it once, they did it several times. One more answer when I gave, when Najib Jung, when he said something, and I said that counseling is allowed, and I said that if a person doesn't have drug, and I tell him don't have drug, then the person will agree with me. This part they should. But when I said later on, that I being a doctor, if I am a doctor, and I give advice to a patient, because that person considers me to be an expert in the field of medicine, then people agree with me. When someone considers me to have knowledge on Quran, but when I give the advice on Quran, they don't follow. So this portion of doctor's analogy was edited. So why do they edit? So this shows that to attend a talk show, you may be an expert, but if the intentions of the moderator and the producer are not right, even the best person to appear on a talk show, he can be showed on the other side. He can be showed in a negative way. Because as I said, you can edit, you can cut. Therefore, the best is to go on a live talk show, which is aired without editing, or you have a moderator and a producer of the show who are not biased and truthful and honest. Like example, the NDTV interview done by Shekhar Gupta. I really admire the person. He may have disagreed with some of my views, but he was honest. So looking back at it, because we put the conditions, I went on the show. And when I put these conditions to many other channels, they refuse, saying we will not allow. But NDTV, at least this show, we the people, I think they went a step further by saying we agree, and one day before disagreeing and promising us to give an unedited version, which they have not given. So I feel the intention, what I thought, I trust in NDTV. As a whole, I don't blame them, because the earlier program they had of mine was fantastic. But this maybe the producer is different and the moderator is different. They aren't the same as Shekhar Gupta. So, but looking back again, when I saw the show, I was initially very disgusted that I should not have gone on the show. Later on, I told my staff, at least take my portion and let me see how much I've spoken. So one of my staff took out all the portion, and it was 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes! I was happy. But then I realized in that 6.5 minutes, 2.5 to 3 minutes was spoken by Barkhadat. I spoke for only 207 seconds. I did a calculation, coming to less than 3.5 minutes. And this is what I felt. But when I saw the portion of my portion only, even if they've edited it, yet, as Allah says in the Quran in Surah Isra, chapter 17, verse number 81, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is heard against falsehood, falsehood perishes. For falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. When I saw the emails, and I read the emails that came on comments on the NDTV by Muslims and non-Muslims, I was shocked. Believe me, I was shocked. Out of the emails I read, 2/3 were either telling that Dr. Zakir Naik did not get enough time, either they're speaking against Barkadat. That means on the positive side, that they could see through, maybe because they know my answers or they're aware of my speeches. So I was happy that 2/3 of them, the emails that I read, because maybe they've seen these people, maybe my fans or whatever it is, or they've seen me, the non-Muslims, the Muslims, that is the reason they did not appreciate the way it was conducted. Out of the balance 1/3, half of them were neutral, half of them were critical, saying that, see, Zakir here, he didn't get a chance, so they're happy about it. But overall I feel, even what they have done, as Imran rightly said, the message, the major point for put across, what is the definition of a Muslim? There's nothing like moderate Muslim, either practicing, partially practicing, or non-practicing Muslim. So these points about the various things that are spoken in the media, at least I made a point, and those who were intelligent got it. So alhamdulillah, irrespective of what happened, I feel whatever happens, happens for good, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best to make his message spread.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zakir, for your elucidative comments on what all we received by email and the comments from our brothers here. We continue on with this discussion on TV talk shows and analysis. I present some more of the emails and website comments we have received. There's one brother, Zahid Malik. He says, NDTV wasted precious time of Dr. Zakir. There is Waqas Sheikh Muhammad who says, Dr. Zakir Naik had too much patience. I would have said directly to the host that you did not give me enough time to speak in front of everyone.
As far as that comment is concerned, that you did not give me enough time to speak, has been told to me, many of my friends said, that Dr. Naik, you should have said on the show, that please don't edit this. You should have said on the show. And you have not given me enough time.
But maybe that would have been edited too.
That's correct. So that's what I said, that if I would have said that, that means I'm falling in the trap. Because I know the media, so that person being a no voice, many of my friends they told me, you should have openly said in the show that don't edit this portion and give me enough time. So what they would have done, they would have showed that portion, that don't edit this portion and give me enough time, and yet edited the other portion. So it would have looked that they are very honest. They are even showing that portion where I mentioned don't edit, though editing other parts. And even showing that portion, give me enough time. So what we realized that, me being a man of the media, I did not fall into the trap, I didn't make that comment. But these people may not be knowing how editing can be done in the post-production. That's the reason I do appreciate the comment. But I being a man of the media, I avoid falling into the trap which they have laid.
We continue with the comments. The next brother, Brother Muhammad Iqbal says, why don't you call only Zakir Naik Bhai to know about Islam? He will let you know everything, whatever you all want. This is my challenge. Inshallah, he'll answer all your questions with authentic sources. So let's see what NDTV do next. There's Sister Tahira Sarwar who says, you people just wasted Dr. Zakir Naik's precious time. I think a similar kind of comments we received from many of the websites and emails. Then Adil Ayub says, that was expected. Filmmakers, government-employed clergies were trying to explain their own Islam, while as Dr. Naik was totally sidelined. That was quite clearly a drama which was manipulated professionally by Barkadat. Then we have Abdullah Baisa who says, Brother Zakir is a wise person, that he attended and he was smiling all the time. May Allah protect him and give hidayah to others.
Ameen.
We have Brother Mushafiq Sultan. He says, this program was a campaign against modesty and a campaign for immodesty and rebellion against religion. A useless program. They bought Dr. Naik to increase their viewership and they all joined to pounce on him. Sayyid Ahmad says, don't judge on what you see. How do you know that she hardly knows anything? We should not speak about others when we were not sure that what Dr. Naik said yesterday. Sobu Monu says, he's a man of wisdom and knowledge. Dr. Zakir Naik is the most knowledgeable scholar of this era. His personality and knowledge about Islam and other religions is so concrete and authentic that everyone is compelled to listen to him, and have put so many people around the globe on Sirat-e-Mustaqim. And we have candid comments from Brother Adil Azim. He says, "Hi Barka, I was a fan of you, but you let me down. You were biased." Were Dr. Zakir Naik and Maulana Madni called just for publicity of the show? They were not given a chance to speak. You want to know about Islam and Muslims from people who are not experts in Islam? If you think that Shah Rukh Khan and Soha Ali Khan represent Muslims of India, then I must insist you are wrong. I would reiterate the hadith Asim mentioned. Hadrat Salma radiallahu ta'ala anha narrate that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "The time will also come upon the people when the truthful will be condemned as liars, and the liars will be regarded as truthful. People with dishonest occupations will be regarded as upright people, while upright people will be condemned as criminals. People will come forth uncalled to give evidence for a fee, and people will take oaths, false, without it being called for. One suggestion, try to know about Islam from Quran and experts." We have Sister Shamma Ghosh saying, "Your program, We the People, was useless, not worth watching. Dr. Zakir Naik was not given any chance to speak and was deliberately interrupted. Barka was really not interested in knowing about the Muslim identity. All she was busy was in cutting off Dr. Zakir Naik's comments and not letting him complete his point of view. All the focus was more given to SRK. It was completely a promotional platform, an event built by NDTV to promote his film, My Name is Khan. 90% of the time was given to fools who don't know what Islam is." We have interpret comments from Sister Shumaila Siddiqui, who says, "The show was totally unfair. Barka didn't give much chance to Dr. Zakir to speak. It was more for the publicity of My Name is Khan than knowing about the Muslim's identity. Barka interrupted Dr. Zakir again and again and didn't let him clear his points. When Shah Rukh has himself said that he doesn't know much about Islam, then it is foolish to ask him anything about Islam. It's like you are asking a driver about heart problem. Even in the end, Dr. Zakir was not given chance to make the final statement. Barka skipped Dr. Zakir and moved towards Soha. Then by themselves raised the issue of a beard and a cap, and then Shah Rukh said that we should not go for how does a Muslim look like, we should go for how does he feel. So if you didn't want to know that how should Muslim look like, then why did you people raise the issue of a beard and a cap? Again a foolish act. It was the waste of the precious time of Dr. Zakir. That show was useless." We have another sister, Reshma M, who says, "I was truly disappointed from this discussion. Having renowned people like Dr. Naik and not being able to bring his points to the audience was disappointing. And when he did speak, he was sadly cut off. He is, after all, a well-learned scholar. But SRK and SOA and likewise people were given more than necessary spotlight of the whole talk, to the extent that they look like the show was more based on MNIK and such matter, and what the actor thought of what should be done and what not. The show was a big disaster, and all that they did succeed in was to reconfirm my belief that how much ever people try to be open-minded, they can never accept Muslims with their whole package, whether it be the skull cap and hijab or just merely verses of the Quran. And yes, I agree with Dr. Naik. There are either practicing Muslims or just plain hypocrites. And as far as hijab goes, all I have to say to everyone, who's got a problem, back off." Those were candid comments from some of our websites, especially the NDTV one, as well as Facebook. We begin this continuing session with questions from the audience our brothers collected here to Dr. Zakir Naik. Our brothers have seen various talk shows, especially the last one, which Dr. Zakir appeared on NDTV. We would like you, out of your experiences, your practical understanding, if you have any question as far as understanding what talk shows are all about, this is your opportunity to ask Dr. Zakir. Feel free, feel open, do ask. We have Dr. Zakir to answer your questions. Yes, brothers. Yes, brother.
I would like to ask Zakir Bhai whether these news channels aren't for TRPs and for money, and they want the populist opinion which will attract more audiences.
But Nasir, not only the news channels, most of the channels, they mainly see to it they get more TRP, and having this view of having more TRP is not wrong. But showing a wrong view to have more TRP, that is wrong. To see to it that you get more viewership on a channel is a good intention. But to show a wrong impression to increase your viewership, that is wrong. So most of them, because as you rightly said, that most of the channels are commercial channels. And the intention to start a channel is to earn money. So many a time they go against the truth just to see to it that the viewership increases.
Yes, any brother. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Before I put forward my question, I would like to make a comment on the program. After watching the program We the People, I realized, as a fan of Dr. Zakir Naik, that what a mess it could make if we asked the opinion of every person, namesake Muslim, about Islam and the Muslims. And it has reaffirmed my faith in the verse of the glorious Quran where it says, if you do not know, ask those who know. That's right. Coming to my question. During the course of the talk, Barkha threw a question to the panelists that most of the Muslims have become image conscious and they have given more concentration on wearing a skull cap, sporting a beard, and the Muslim woman wearing the hijab. And as usual, as Barkha was doing, she avoided your comments on this and she put forward to the other panelists, that was Najib Jung. Brother Najib Jung said that most of the Muslims who wear the skull caps, sport a beard, and wear the niqab are less than 1%, which I strongly disagree with. I would like to have an enlightened answer by Dr. Zakir Naik on the same, because I consider him to be an expert on Islam and comparative religion. Jazakallah.
As far as the comment made by Najib Jung, that less than 1% of the Muslims in India wear this identity. The identity mentioned by Barkha, that the men wear a skull cap and a beard, and women wear the burqa. He said less than 1% in India wear this identity. And he also said that in my university, he is the Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia, he said that we have 20,000 students, girls and boys, and they aren't dressed up in skull cap or beard or burqa. Less than 1% from them wear this. I haven't been to Jamia Millia. I don't know the percentage, but surely, as far as the Indian Muslims are concerned, I totally disagree with him. In my humble opinion, not that I've done research, but looking people around, traveling throughout India, I feel those people who wear a beard, amongst the non-Muslims will be more than 1%. He was said Muslims. Amongst the non-Muslims, in India and throughout the world will be more than 1%. He was said Muslims. Muslims, I would say, easily somewhere close to 25 to 30%, minimum. I feel minimum. From the Indian Muslims, 25 to 30% of the men would be keeping a beard. As far as the skull cap is concerned, maybe close to 15 to 20% wearing a skull cap. Both put together would surely be more than 10%. Both put together. Both put together, wearing together would be minimum 10%, and either of it, either a beard or a skull cap, would be close to 35 to 40%. So I totally disagree with Najib Jung on analysis. And he further said that it's only in India we got this from the Hindus. When we pray, we wear a cap. This I agree. This thing that covering the head while prayer is more common in India, but it's not coming from the Hindus. Covering the head is not compulsory, but it's the sunnah of the Prophet. And there are many hadith. You mentioned Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of dress, in chapter number 16, where the Prophet covered his head. It's also mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, hadith number 5807, where the Prophet covered his head. And there are various other Sahih hadith. It's a sunnah. There is no hadith showing that ever Prophet went outside with his head uncovered. Though it's not a fard in Islam, it's a sunnah. So it is a part of the Muslim identity. And same with the beard. What I fail to realize, that I don't know about Jamia Millia. But I'm sure, though I have not been to Jamia Millia, even there, the students, inshallah, if they are Muslims, would surely be more than 10% would either be having a cap or a beard or both.
Majority students, I think, are non-Muslims in Jamia Millia.
No, but he said Muslims.
University.
When we're talking about Muslims,
The most students are non-Muslims.
therefore I'm saying among the Muslim students. Among the Muslim students, I said, I don't know what the percentage is. I haven't been to Jamia Millia. And to put the point across, even Najib Jagh himself puts a beard. So when you're asking, I say that at least 35% to 40% have either one of them. And if you call him, whatever type of Muslim he is, he says he's a Muslim. So even he has a beard. Why he has it, I don't know. But he has a beard.
Any further comments, questions from the brother? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Myself Mohammad Noor. My question is that on that show, there was a question asked to Maulana Madni, what about Vande Mataram? And the answer given by him was not satisfied. What is your opinion about Vande Mataram? And just explain us the translation of Vande Mataram. Jazakallahu khair.
As far as the answer given by Maulana Madni on Vande Mataram, it was correct. It was a short answer he had to give. He said that to force anyone to say Vande Mataram is wrong, it is his opinion. So the answer was right. Though because it was, in short, it may not be the complete answer which he may be having a longer version. Being a talk show, he gave a short version. So what he said that, you cannot force anyone to say anything because India is a free country. So based on that, I agree on that part. As far as the view on Vande Mataram means I bow down to the motherland. Vande, bow down, Mataram, to my motherland. Based on this saying that I bow down to my motherland, leave aside what Islam says. Even according to Hindu scriptures, what we believe, that in the Hindu scripture, if you read, it's clearly mentioned in the Hindu scripture. In Svetasvatara Upanishad, chapter number 4, verse number 19, Natasya Pratimasti. Pratima in Sanskrit means an image, a photograph, a picture, a painting, a portrait, a sculpture, an idol. Almighty God has got no pratima, has got no image, has got no picture, has got no portrait, has got no painting, has got no statue, has got no idol, has got no sculpture. So based on this, Almighty God can't have an image according to the Hindu scripture. Same is repeated in Yajurved, chapter number 32, verse number 3. Natasya Pratimasti, of that God, there is no image. So based on this, in Hinduism also making an image of God is wrong. So saying that this motherland is like your God and you bow down is wrong even according to Hindu scriptures. And in Islam, it's very clear that we can bow down to no one but our Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As far as our country is concerned, we as Muslims, we love the country, we respect the country, but we don't bow down to the country. Not only in India, we cannot even bow down in Pakistan to that country. We cannot bow down in Saudi Arabia also. So it's not only to India. If a Muslim is living in Saudi Arabia and he's a Saudi national, he cannot bow down to Saudi Arabia. A Pakistani cannot bow down to Pakistan. So it's not only to India. Because we bow down only to our God, our Creator. We cannot bow down even to our own mother. Leave aside motherland. The woman who gave us birth, who's our mother. We cannot bow down to our own mother. So where is the question of bowing down to the motherland? We love the country. We respect the country. Our country has given us many opportunities. But we cannot equate our country, neither our own mother, to our Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So based on this, according to Islam and according to Hinduism, saying that we bow down to our country and calling our country as good as God, which is mentioned Vande Mataram several times, it is totally wrong.
Before we ask the next question to the audience, one or two emails. The Muhammad Shaban, he says, yeah, even I think Dr. Naik shouldn't have been a part of the show. But Allah knows the best. Allah does best for His ummah. Maybe something good is there yet to come related to the show. Or may even Dr. Zakir Naik can arrange a session where he can reply to all the comments and questions made in this show. Jazakallah. And we have Shamaima Ali who says, they didn't give him a chance, but inshallah Allah will support him. We are behind you, Dr. Zakir Naik, all the way. This is your chance. You can put forward questions to him. Yes, brother.
Vis-a-vis the program, We the People, Shah Rukh Khan emphasized the need to explain Islam to other people. In this context, how is it incumbent on every Muslim to spread the message of Islam, and how?
Shah Rukh Khan, as far as this question is concerned, he said it's required for the Muslims to explain Islam to others, and I agree with that. It's compulsory for every Muslim to convey the message of Islam. It is fard. It's mentioned in several places of the Quran, including Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 110, where it's mentioned in the Quran, Kuntum khaira ummatin ukhrijat linnas. We are the best of people evolved for mankind. The Muslims are called as the best of people. And the reason is given, because we enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong. Ta'miruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. We are called as the best of people for the whole of humankind because we enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong, and we believe in Allah. So the reason Almighty God is calling us the best amongst all the peoples is because we have to convey the message of truth. Call people towards the truth, enjoin them to the truth, and forbid them from doing wrong. So it's compulsory on the Muslims. And there are several other verses in the Quran, like Surah Al-Asr, chapter number 103, verse number 1 to 3, which says, one of the criteria to go to Jannah is to call people towards the truth.
Any brother? Yes, brother.
After the show, I read a comment on Twitter, on SRK, Shah Rukh Khan's Twitter, that he said that post-show he had some discussion with you, and he has mentioned that after a post-show I had a discussion with Dr. Zakir Naik, and it was very enlightening. I would like to know what was that enlightening session with Dr. Shah Rukh Khan.
Yes, after the show was over, I did chat with Shah Rukh Khan for about half an hour, and it was a very good experience. I cannot discuss everything because many things were personal. It would be wrong on me to say in public. I was meeting for the first time. It was the first time I met him personally, though there are some common friends who are his friends and my friends. But this is the first time meeting him personally. And one thing is for sure, that I am happy that I maintained my policy of not to just rely on the news. But before the show, and which everyone may be aware, that it comes in the media, many people, many of my friends have told, Shah Rukh Khan is not a practicing Muslim and he's not happy to be a Muslim, and he normally gives comments against Islam, and he does this and that. I personally have not heard it personally on the television. I have not heard, because I watch television very little. But because it were comments, I followed the verse of the Quran. Quran says in Surah Hujurat, chapter 49, verse number 6, that whenever you get a message, check it up before you pass it on to the third person. The same thing what I use, whether anyone asking comment, like Barkhadat asked me on Osama bin Laden, I said, I don't know. Same thing, even though hearing negative comments of Shah Rukh Khan, I always said, Allah Alam. But what I heard him saying on the show, I'm not talking the chat after the show, what I heard him on the show, I felt, irrespective whether he's practicing or not, but his answers were far better than most of the Muslims on the show. Not counting, of course, Maulana Mahmud Madni, he's a close friend of mine. MashaAllah, he's a practicing Muslim. But leaving aside him, what answers he gave, compared to all the other Muslims on the show, his answers were more correct. And he rightly agreed, saying that, that though he does film acting and singing and dancing, he says it is haram. That was good of him. And he says that he has less knowledge. But he also said that for correct knowledge, you should ask the scholars and the ulamas and the maulanas. So his answers were far superior than the other people who were Muslim in the talk show. And after the show, one comment I'd like to make, that while discussing on the issue of Muslim identity, he asked me, Dr. Zakir Naik, he's a Dr. Zakir Sahab, what is your view, how important is it to keep a beard and wear the cap? So giving an analogy, that it wasn't a talk show, there was no Barkhadat, so I could explain to Brother Shah Rukh Khan more easily, and without any interruption. So I told him that when you appear for an examination, there are some questions which have 1 mark, some questions have 10 marks, some questions have 20 marks. The Muslim identity, wearing the cap and the beard, though it's not of utmost importance, but it is important, it may carry maybe 1 mark. Behaving, practically being honest, speaking the truth, these points about Islam, the practice, may carry 10 marks, may carry 5 marks. So, though keeping a beard is not the most important, you can miss the 1 marks and concentrate on the 10 marks and 5 marks and 20 marks. But if someone wants to score distinction, he will try and even get this 1 mark. For example, when we appeared for the medical examination, we tried even to get that half mark because we want to score above 90. So when you want to score above 90, this is very important. Beard is important and cap is important. It's a part of the sunnah. But if someone doesn't keep a beard, you cannot say that he's not a Muslim. You cannot say he's not a Muslim, doesn't sport a beard or doesn't wear a cap. But, oh, you have given a very good analogy. So you like the example that it is important, but may carry 1 mark, 2 marks. The more important is the amal. The other things about being honest, about offering salah, not doing shirk. This is of more importance. And as I mentioned even in my answer to the talk show, that if a person does not keep a beard, it doesn't come in the 70 major sins. You know, there is a scholar by the name of Imam al-Dhahabi, and he has listed the 70 major sins in Islam. First being the shirk, then being murder, going down the line. But the beard doesn't appear. That does not mean it's not a sin. Some scholars say that it is a sunnah, mustahab. That's encouraging. Some scholars say that it is fard to keep a beard. But whatever it is, no one puts it in the major sin. Either it's a minor sin or it's a very important sunnah. So it's not part of the major sin. Hope that answers.
That's a good clarification. May we have my brother put forward this question. May we have your name and profession, please?
I'm Obed Khan. In that program on NDTV, Shah Rukh Khan had made a comment that for a Muslim, to look like a Muslim is not important, but to feel like a Muslim is important. I would like to hear your comment on that.
To look like a Muslim, I would say, is not the most important. But to feel like a Muslim, again, feeling may be different as I gave the earlier answer. That being honest is more important than wearing a beard and wearing the cap. But being honest and wearing the cap and the beard is much better than only being honest without the beard. But a person who's proud to be a Muslim would always like to show that he's a Muslim. So if you're proud to be a Muslim, for example, when a person passes his medical degree, you know, he becomes a doctor. When he gets MBBS degree, and he puts a doctor in front of his name. Why? Because he's proud to be a doctor. The person who's proud to be a Muslim, he would be proud to show that he's a Muslim. And this is one of the labels that the Muslim has. That is wearing a beard and wearing a cap. Hope that answers the question.
2 comments before I put forward questions you could ask. We have Shahjini Ibrahim Hassan Sidhi. He asks, in fact, they fear the young Zakir sir. They need to show their beliefs is right. They don't think that Islam is most growing religion without the help of the media. Allah knows best. Then we have Brother Akib who says, I'm a practicing Muslim and I have myself been subjected to typification and biases many a time. But I feel NDTV and Burqa are one of the best things around. I agree Zakir Naik should have been given more time to speak. But it's a short time show and all is not possible. Shah Rukh has spoken most wisely and said what Islam actually says, except 1 or 2 points which we all are, humans are bound to err. Kudos to NDTV and Burqa, but yeah, KK, Padamsi, VC, Jamia and Soha spoke their whims.
As I said that what he spoke about Islam was far better than most of the other Muslims in the show. And but natural, the view that the people normally have, I don't know what he is or not, but when I spoke to him after the show and what I heard the answer in the show, and when I spoke after the show, at least what I experienced, at least he is not at all feeling apologetic to be a Muslim. He is happy to be a Muslim, unlike what people portray. So at least my opinion about him, good, I did not agree with the opinion of the others. I may be wrong, people may know him better than me, I only met him once, but what I heard live on the talk show, and what I had a discussion after the show, at least my opinion about him is that fine, he agrees he does something wrong, but he is proud to be a Muslim and he would love to learn more about Islam, and that is what Islam always believes, that not to just hear what people say, but at least my opinion about him is that not what people talk about him. When I met him personally, he was a different person.
Yes, brother. Yeah, welcome.
Shah Rukh Khan again and again, but of late I have observed that that is what he says, that he is offering namaz and he plans to go for Hajj inshallah this year. Was it, I don't know, it's because of interaction with you or what has made him, Allah has given him hidayah to pray namaz. Now he is often tweeting that I'm going for namaz. And he says that this year I intend to go for Hajj, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah give him good hidayah.
I don't know, but I do know that there are common friends between him and me. And he has confessed with me that he has seen many of my DVDs. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may give hidayah to all of us and may get us closer to the truth of Islam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Zakir bhai, in the show, Kabir Khan made a comment saying that, if a mother is wearing hijab and the daughter adopts this habit of the mother, then this is not free will. But if the mother is not wearing a hijab and the daughter adopts this habit of wearing a hijab, this is free will. Do you accept this definition of free will given by Kabir Khan?
This definition will be applicable to some people, especially to Kabir Khan. Because Kabir Khan, he told that he was born in a Muslim family. I think maybe that is the reason he is calling himself a Muslim. Maybe he has no free will. If he had a free will, he would have said he's not a Muslim. So the definition does agree to him that he has not been given a free will. Therefore, though being born in a Muslim family, he calls himself a Muslim. So this definition does apply to him, and it feels that he had no free will to say he's not a non-Muslim, if I agree with it. As far as normally what we see, that there are many of the children who follow their parents. I do agree most of them do it by blind belief. If the father is a Hindu, the children are Hindu. If the parents are Muslim, the children are Muslim. If parents are Christian, the children are Christian. I do agree to a great extent that many do blind belief. But some of them question their parents. Some of them may do because it's part of religion. Some may do because it is part of culture. But many children, they question their parents. And after questioning their parents, they may get convinced what their parents are doing right, and they may continue. So these people now, out of free will, they are continuing what their parents are doing. Some people question their parents, and they aren't convinced. And yet they continue doing it, maybe because of peer pressure, maybe because they're afraid that they cannot go against their parents. But on the other hand, some people who, when they question their parents and they aren't convinced, then they change their ideology and they change their behavior. So these people, again, out of free will, they're changing. So you can't say for sure that just because the mother is wearing hijab, the daughter wears, that means no free will. And if mother doesn't wear hijab and then daughters wear, then it's free will. This is totally wrong. But even if I agree with Kabir, in the Islam Research Foundation, there are hundreds or maybe 1,000 girls who are not wearing hijab, and their mothers don't wear hijab, but after coming to our foundation, hundreds and thousands of them, within few weeks or couple of months, they have started wearing hijab. So if his definition that if the mother doesn't wear and the daughters wear means free will, so by free will, in Bombay itself, only coming by a foundation, hundreds and thousands have started wearing hijab. And furthermore, many of the ladies, after watching my programs on the satellite channel, maybe hundreds and thousands of them have started wearing hijab. Not in India, throughout the world. So if this is his definition of free will, then alhamdulillah, when these logical people, when they hear the logical reason why hijab should be worn. So unfortunately, I do agree that the majority in India, they wear hijab as part of culture, or they wear hijab because it's a religion, without knowing the reason. Some of them, after learning the reason, they continue. But the point to be noted is that if we convince the youngsters and the ladies with reason, logic and science why hijab is worn, and the reason of hijab in Islam is to protect the woman, then I feel majority, if not all, the ladies who are logical, they will wear the hijab. That's the reason. There are many non-Muslims accepting Islam throughout the world. And amongst the people accepting Islam, whether India or abroad, 2/3 of them are women. So if hijab subjugates the women, then why are the American women who are accepting Islam? Why are the European women who are accepting Islam, they are adopting hijab? So hijab is there to protect the women, and everyone has a right to agree or disagree. And based on that, but if you speak logically, and if you explain Islam to them logically, I feel majority of the humans will agree with the points that I mentioned in Islam.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir. We have 2-3 comments, on the web. We have Mehnaz Chi, who says, I completely agree. Dr. Naik deserves to be in a better place. and the lady, Barkha, seem to have no knowledge of who Dr. Naik is.
I disagree with that statement.
Dr. Zakir disagrees.
Barkha will surely be knowing who I am. That is the reason they had me on the show. That is the reason when she spoke to me the first time in the show, she said that you come on TV more than me.
Alhamdulillah.
And when she asked the third question, she said that I know that you love answering questions from the audience. So I disagree with that statement that she doesn't know me. She knew me, but she being an expert moderator, she really moderated, not with honesty, but she had a point of view, and as I said earlier, that it depends upon the integrity and the sincerity of the moderator and the producer to project the people who are there on the show.
I think the sister's misunderstanding stands corrected. We have Nadia Jamal who says, I totally agree, Dr. Zakir hardly was given the chance to speak, and Brother Zakir in future should avoid sharing the stage with Jahil Muslims, especially like Soha Ali Khan and Kabir Khan, who don't even know what Islam is all about, and were arguing that Muslim lady wears hijab only if she sees her mother wearing it. I have no idea in what kind of a world they are living. New generation are more practicing than their parents. I believe, alhamdulillah. And truly I found Soha and Kabir highly disgusting. They are not Muslim, so why to call them for discussions on Muslims? And lastly we have Arshad Hussain Sheikh who says, Lady Barkha is a commercial commodity and so is SRK, Kabir, Soha and Karan. Don't these guys seriously, folks? Little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Their opinions don't make a tiny bit difference towards what Islam and Muslims stand for. There is no other interpretation of Islam and a Muslim other than what is said in the Holy Quran. See more Quran and the Hadith. Either you are in or you are out of the circle. There is no room for so-called moderate or liberal Islam or a Muslim, and there is no such word called extremist or fundamentalist. Rightly said by Dr. Zakir that either you practice or you don't. Simple as that. I think Dr. Zakir would like to comment something on that.
The person has given the right analogy.
Maybe what I'm just putting across is straightforward comments, of the people. Some may be right, some may not be right, but that is their opinion.
I say you either say he's a Muslim or a pseudo-Muslim. Muslim or pseudo-Muslim. Or you can say who is a practicing Muslim, partially practicing Muslim, or non-practicing Muslim. So non-practicing Muslim can be called a pseudo-Muslim, right terminology. There's nothing like moderate Muslim. No, Muslims, if he's a Muslim, he's moderate. And you can't say a person is an extremist Muslim. And I say I'm an extremist Muslim. I'm extremely kind, I'm extremely merciful, I'm extremely loving, I'm extremely just, I'm extremely honest. So to be a practicing Muslim, you have to be an extremist. You can't say I'm partially honest. When it benefits me, I'm honest. When it does not benefit, I'm not honest. So these are terminologies, loose terminologies made by people and how it has evolved. So these loose terminologies used by the media, extremist and fundamentalist, these, if you go back into history, they were used for somebody else earlier. If you have heard my talk on terrorism and jihad, etc., I've clarified that this word fundamentalist was first used for the Christians. Those who believe that the message of the Bible is not from God, every word, every letter is from God. And now today, in the new definition of Oxford Dictionary, the fundamentalists mean a person who strictly adheres to the ancient teachings of any religion. The new definition is slightly changed, that fundamentalist is a person who strictly adheres to the ancient doctrines of religion, especially Islam. So though it was used in the early part of the 20th century for the Christians, today it's used for the Muslims. So this is how they keep on changing. But really fundamentalist is the person who follows the fundamentals. So if you have to be a good Muslim, you have to follow the fundamentals of Islam. If you have to be a good Hindu, you have to follow the fundamentals of Hinduism. If you have to be a good mathematician, you have to follow the fundamentals of mathematics.
Jazakallah, Brother Zakir. Any further questions from brothers here? Yes, brother, we'll just ask. Then we'll come back on the front.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Farhan and I'm a student. Kabir Khan alleged that the definition of Islam that you gave was too narrow. So I would like to know your comments on that. Like, does the definition of Islam, what you said, does it change or it remains the same?
The brother asked that Kabir Khan said that definition of Islam is very narrow. I said Islam means a person who submits his will to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you want to know the meaning of a word, any word, where do you look? Look in the dictionary. If you want to know the meaning of any English word, you go to dictionary. You don't just say it off the cuff. And if you want to verify whether the person has said right or wrong, go to the dictionary. So you open any Arabic dictionary. Islam comes from the root word salam, which means peace, or salam, which means peace. It's also derived from the Arabic word silm, which means to submit your will to God. Submit. So Islam actually means peace acquired by submitting your will to God. And anyone who submits his will to God is called as a Muslim. So this is an Arabic word. I don't know how much does Kabir Khan know about Arabic. So a person who does not know Arabic, you ask him the meaning of Arabic word, it is like the person said, you're asking a driver about the treatment of medical disease. I don't know how much Arabic does Kabir Khan know. And what right does he have to comment on Arabic word which he doesn't know? So this is how the media, a person doesn't know Arabic and asking the meaning of an Arabic word. So what we realize that if you want to know, you go to the authentic sources. And the best definition to know about Muslim is go to the Quran. Quran says that many places about Muslim, God as Muslim means one a person who bows to the will of Allah. In Surah Al-Imran chapter 3 verse 64 and many other places. Hope that's it.
Yes. Any further questions?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Aman Bukhari. Barkha Dutt doubted your reply which you had tried to give about the Talibans and how the American media, they manipulate the public. And according to her, CNN and BBC are the gospels for her. Now the very same CNN and BBC had said that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, and this was being relayed on these channels day after day, week after week, and months after months. And in spite of America invading Iraq, it was not able to find any weapons of mass destruction. My question to Barkha Dutt is, come on Barkha Dutt, where is your answer to this? Where are the weapons of mass destruction? Your comments please, sir.
These examples can be given in scores, and I do agree with you. Not that I am a fan of Saddam Hussein. Neither do I say that Saddam Hussein is a practicing Muslim. But America attacks Iraq and puts a sanction embargo that no medicine, no food should go there, because of which more than 500,000 children were killed because of the sanction, putting sanctions. Who's to blame? And when they attack Iraq, they don't find any weapons of mass destruction. Who's to blame? I would blame George Bush. It is clear. Why can't she read between the lines? And she's a woman of the media. Or maybe, I don't know why she... It's very evident that even when Saddam Hussein was arrested, he had a trial, inverted commas, whether just, I don't know. Irrespective what he has done, in Islam we have to give a fair chance to the person who is the culprit or the person who you think is responsible. I doubt whether he was given a free chance. Fine, I do agree he has done many evils, maybe, but surely there was no proof of weapons of mass destruction. No proof. And has anyone condemned George Bush? Fine. I know later on many people did say that he's terrorist number one. And when the survey came in America and throughout the world, who is terrorist number one? Is it Bin Laden? Is it Saddam Hussein? Or is it George Bush? And do you know, in all the polls, whether conducted in America or UK or throughout the world, George Bush, he swept the polls. The lowest he got was 73%. And some votes he got more than 80%. Now, when people compared, Americans compared, who is a terrorist? Bin Laden, Saddam Hussein or George Bush? Even in the BBC poll, George Bush swept the polls. Now, doesn't Barkha Dutt know about that? So very, very comfortably, they take what they want from the BBC and they don't take what they don't want, and this is not again publicized, it comes once and finished. So if Barkha Dutt is a woman of the media, the same BBC says that this is the public opinion. Has she said, come on BBC?
Yes, brother. The next questions. We'll have brother here.
Assalamu alaikum, Zakir bhai.
Wa alaikum assalam.
As I learned from you, alhamdulillah, you always quote that makaruhu wa makar Allah, wallahu khairul makirin. They make plan, Allah makes plan, and Allah is the best of planners. So similarly, I feel that the NDTV people, they kept your side and they had given you less than 4 minutes. And today, alhamdulillah.
Less than 3.5.
3.5. 3.5 minutes. And alhamdulillah, today you come up with the same topic and you are saying alhamdulillah more than 1 hour.
So this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah. As I said that I am the bearded man, my father was not having a beard.
MashaAllah.
So
you're keeping out of free will.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. My mother, she was not wearing hijab. And I got 5 sisters, alhamdulillah, all they are wearing hijab.
MashaAllah. You should give witness to Kabir Khan.
Yes, that is what I'm saying to Kabir Khan only. My wife is wearing hijab. Her mother was not wearing hijab. So I can dua to Kabir Khan, inshallah, biznillah. Maybe his son will keep the beard and his daughter will wear the hijab.
Inshallah. If they watch Peace TV, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And I pray to Allah that may Kabir Khan also keep a beard.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So now my question is, Zakir Bhai, now 1, 2, 3, 4 times you've seen all this channel people. Okay, they have cheated you, I can say that. They have wasted your time. So if they will call you again for any program, will you go for them?
That again depends. As I said, I'm not saying I'll never go for any talk shows again. I've been abroad on talk shows. As I say that I try and judge the integrity and the honesty and the intention of the person in the show. Maybe I judged NDTV earlier when they had an interview of mine, which was taken by Zakir Gupta. It was wonderful. It was par excellence. Why? Because he didn't edit anything. Even though he may not have agreed with everything what I said, but he allowed me to speak. So therefore, one-to-one interview is far superior. Even there, a person who has an evil intention can alter many things. But Zakir Gupta, editor-in-chief of Indian Express, same television channel NDTV. So I cannot say it is an NDTV agenda to malign Muslims. It may be the agenda of the We the People show. That's what the people always say, that you know. So maybe. So depending upon who calls me. But normally, after appearing for the show of Farooq Sheikh on Mard, I always put a condition, especially to the non-Islamic channels, that I will get my own camera, I will get my own crew and record. Some initially say yes, then they say no. Here they told no at the last moment. So they went a step further than the other channels. I have been invited by hundreds of talk shows by many channels. Again, as a policy I don't attend because it's too much of time wastage. Coming there and spending hours and being allowed to speak for 3-4 minutes. Personally, because I already come on the channel. If a learned person who doesn't have exposure to the media, I feel he should yet go. He should go. Maybe the people get some hidayah. But here, because I come on the various channels, there are hundreds of millions of viewers, it will damage the information. So for me, I should be careful before I attend any show. But I cannot say I will not attend any in my life. I'll take the precaution, but the rest I leave in the hands of Allah. As you rightly said, Allah says in Surah Imran chapter 3 verse 54, Makru makarullah wallahu khairul makirin. They plan and plotted, Allah too plan. Allah is the best of planners. So maybe because I attended the Farooq Sheikh's show, my intentions to launch a satellite channel became more firm. That I attended before Peace TV was launched. You know, what I say, that Salman Rushdie, the book he wrote about satanic verses is to be condemned. Net result, many people wanted to read this satanic verses of the Quran, and there are thousands of non-Muslims accepted Islam. 9/11, the attack on the Twin Towers, is to be condemned. Whoever did it is wrong, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. Whether George Bush or Bin Laden, whoever did it is wrong. That should be condemned. But the net result, whoever did it, net result, many people wanted to know what is this religion about Islam. And when I used to go to the Western countries before 9/11, there were few non-Muslims used to come for my talk. Now when I go post 9/11, there are more non-Muslims attending the talk. So net result is that we have more opportunity to dawah. That was wrong, but the end result, Islam is spreading faster. So more the media is maligning Islam, we find that Islam is spreading more. So if they have more such like these on the NDTV, I personally have no problem. Because Allah is there to take care of His deen and His religion. And somehow or the other, at the end of the day, it will surely be benefit for Islam.
Yes, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Shah Rukh Khan sounded a little apologetic when he said something somewhere is wrong, but we have to adjust and bear with them. So how far we should adjust and why should we be apologetic? That's my question.
I don't know in which context are you telling about that. and everyone is talking about Shah Rukh Khan. I don't know which context he mentioned this, but yes, there are many people who are apologetic. I don't know whether Shah Rukh Khan was he or not that time, and in what context did you say that we should adjust. But normally, for a person, there are people who are many a time afraid to keep a beard even if they want to keep, thinking that they can be victimized. In that context, if some people are getting afraid to keep a beard or wear a cap that they'll be recognized as Muslim and they'll be victimized, which a person should not get scared. But some people, the taqwa may not be that strong. And there are cases where riots take place in certain countries, in certain cities, and if out of fear someone does that, so may Allah forgive them. In this case, if somebody chooses certain things and don't choose, depends upon them.
Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Tanveer Sheikh. By profession, I'm a businessman. I have got two quick questions. Number one is, after watching the program, it appeared that Barkha and Kabir Khan were trying to promote a new religion known as the moderate Islam, where everything that Islam permits is prohibited and everything that Islam prohibits is permitted in this religion. So your opinion about that. And number two, I have seen you in many live debates all over the world. How do you find the experience of a live debate as compared to a debate on TV show? Jazakallah.
As far as Barkha and Kabir Khan promoting moderate Muslim, that my answer in the email very clearly. I did not comment further that when I spoke, if you see the full debate, I was asked only 4 questions by Barkha. And in these 4 questions, I was interjected by her more than 12 times. On average, every question she interjected thrice, not allowing me to complete. And Kabir Khan also interjected me thrice. So this shows that even if they give me 3.5 minutes, if they give 3.5 minutes to me, okay, speak for 3.5 minutes, or speak 1 minute without interjection, I don't mind. I don't mind going on a show, even speak for 3 minutes, saying, okay, here, you have got 3 times 1 minute and 1 time half minute, I've got no problem. Give me 4 times. But saying a sentence, 20 seconds, again interjecting, again asking the second question, this is an expertise of a person who's well versed. Not that I wasn't aware, but I being on the panel, not the moderator, I could not do anything. And same thing, when I spoke something, if she didn't interject, it was Kabir Khan. So one answer on average 4 times. One is by Kabir Khan and thrice by Barkha. But irrespective of what it is, I did make my point clear that Muslim is a person who submits his will to God. It's not submitting the will to Kabir or to Barkha. It's submitting your will to God. What's the will of God? Read the Quran. And Quran says, Rasul, you have to go to the Hadith. So if you want to know what a true Muslim is, you have to read the Quran and follow the commandments. Go to the Hadith and read, that's it. And any scholar will say anything, if it matches with Quran and Sahih Hadith, you follow. What I say also has got no value in Islam. If what I say matches with the Quran and Sahih Hadith, you follow it. So even if Barkha says something about Islam, if it matches with Quran and Sahih Hadith, you follow. If it doesn't match it, you leave it aside. As far as the difference between a live debate conducted in public and the debate conducted in a TV show, the difference is that in a live debate, when you have public debate, and you have seen many of the debates that I've taken part in, it's a normal format is given. Each of the 2 speakers is given equal amount of time to speak. Whether it be half an hour each, or 50 minutes each, or 1 hour each, or both are given chances twice. And the role of the moderator is to see to it that each speaker sticks to the time. Even though the topic is given, the speaker can sway from the topic, that is his will. It is the audience who is the judge. And the role of the moderator is to keep the time and to see to it that the questions are given equally to both the speakers. Both having different views. In a TV talk show, it is not like the one we have in the public. When you have a TV talk show, the moderator is here also supposed to be neutral, which is never the case. In a panel debate, the moderator normally is not neutral. Rarely will you find a talk show in where the moderator is really moderate, means neutral, unbiased. Most of the time, depending upon the agenda of the moderator or of the producer, they can sway the debate. If the 2 people who are debating, the moderator may give more time to the view he or she likes and may give less time. there is no timekeeping like the way we have in a public debate. In this context, that is more fair. This is unfair, where a lot depends on the moderator and even on the producer. If he does not like the view of the person who has won the debate, in the post-production, he can chop off his answers. In a live debate, you cannot. So if a live debate is recorded and shown on the channel, that is far better. Fine, even a live debate can be edited. But since both the parties have a recording, if someone tries to edit and show a wrong version, the other party also has a copy. Here, if you tell that I'm coming on your TV show for a debate, let me get my cameras, no one will agree. Unless the intention of the moderator is clear and correct. They will say, okay, it is our show, we are doing it for money, we are doing it for TRP. Tell them, okay, we'll record, you keep the cassette after reeling, after telecasting a show. So we have told that on many channels. Fine, if you fear that we record, we will show it before you. What you do, we'll record. You can keep your cassette, power cassette with you. Once you telecast the show, give our original back. They will never agree. Unless the intention of the moderator or the producer is nothing but showing the truth, he will allow you. But we have asked, in India, more than 100 times when I have been called for panel discussions, or for TV interviews, or for a panel debate, that let us get our cameras. Initially they may agree, but before the show backed out. So this shows the intention of the moderator. So therefore I prefer having a public debate in the public rather than on the TV show.
We continue with comments from some of the websites, especially NDTV. There's Shazia Irshad who says, and now we have more media distortions regarding Islam. Barkha Dutt is a slick lady, simply brilliant, amazing manipulative skills, knows exactly when to interrupt so nothing earth-shattering is said by the learned Dr. Zakir Naik. We have Ahmadullah Tawfiqullah saying, Barkha didn't give time to Dr. Naik. It was a waste. Whenever Dr. Naik started giving any references, she quickly came in between and stopped him. The show was all about promoting My Name is Khan, Qurban, and people standing against hijab. Mansoor Ashraf says, this was the worst interview I have ever seen. The worst. NDTV has really got it terribly wrong. When you are talking about this issue, you bring SRK, Soha, who have no clue about Islam, and they clearly admitted that. And on the other hand, where is the logic in bringing Karan Johar? This leaves a really bad taste, but mashallah, Dr. Zakir gave his best in the limited time he was given. And lastly, we have Mona Hassan saying, I am very sad that Dr. Naik wasn't given much chance to speak and to say what the correct Islam is all about. Dr. Naik is doing a great job. There are so many millions and millions of people who are getting benefited by him. He inspires many. The question before all of us is, what's the reality behind TV talk shows? The positive, the negative, and the in-between. We throw open the floor for questions from our brothers in the audience. Anyone who'd like to question Dr. Zakir, most welcome. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad. Actually, in the program, I noticed that many of the panelists, as well as the anchor, they used a term called lunatic fringe, have started to represent Islam. If they were referring it to the Muslim scholars and orators, isn't this a derogatory remark? And I would like to ask one more question, that not only in this program, but usually in the media, when these kind of celebrities, like cricketers or film stars, politicians, they say that being a good human being, humanity is the most important aspect of Islam. Whereas I think that Tawheed is more superior. So I would like you to comment on this, and I would like Dr. Naik to tell all the Muslims that which is the most important aspect as far as Islam is concerned.
As far as the term lunatic fringe is concerned, in the talk show, as far as my memory goes, it was first used by Kabir Khan. And later on, it was used by other panelists, including Barkha Dutt. And he had a subtle way. What he meant was that the so-called scholars of Islam, that's what he meant. And it was really hitting below the belt. And yes, If it had to be used for anyone, I would say that the Vice Chancellor of Jamia Millia, it can be used for him because he had distorted views about Islam. As far as what is the most important point of a Muslim, what is the most important thing for a Muslim, people normally say that it is human values. I don't disagree with it. A person should be a good human being to be a good Muslim. A person cannot be a good Muslim without being a good human being. He has to be a good human being. A human being is a subset of a good Muslim. Being a good human being is a subset of a good Muslim. And what is the most important thing of being a Muslim? As we said, the first pillar of Islam, that's Tawheed. That is believing in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's also the most important thing of a good human being. Not only for a Muslim, even the most important thing for a good human being is to thank his Creator. So the most important thing for a human being and for a Muslim is to believe in the oneness of our Creator Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to worship Him and no one else. And the opposite, the biggest sin for a Muslim or the biggest sin for any human being is to worship somebody else besides Almighty God Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or to associate partners with the Creator Almighty God.
Any brother here? Questions? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question is that you were telling about that 9/11 was an inside job. At that time, Barkha interrupted you. How can you prove that 9/11 was an inside job?
Brother, I never said that 9/11 was inside job. I said this is the view of the people. Some people believe that. So when Barkha asked me, when she asked me on Osama bin Laden, and she asked my views on Osama bin Laden, and I said that I cannot base my views on BBC and CNN, because that's what the Quran says. Whenever you get information, check it up before you pass it on to the third person. So if I have to base my views on BBC and CNN, I have to agree that Osama bin Laden was a terrorist. Based on this, I said, I cannot give my opinion just on BBC and CNN. And then she goes on to say that, haven't you seen Al Jazeera? Yes, I've seen. But Al Jazeera, again, according to me, it is a part of the American conspiracy. It's controlled by the Americans. I've been to Al Jazeera channel, I've been to Qatar. I know many people who are on high post, and many have the opinion that Al Jazeera is controlled by the Americans. So why should the tape of Osama bin Laden be given only to Al Jazeera? Why not to other Muslim channels? Why not? Fine, again, what I told her, that I have seen even Al Jazeera, but I've even seen Loose Change. Now Loose Change, there are many documentaries that are available in America, made by the Americans, which prove that 9/11 was an inside job. And I, being a man of research, I told her, I keep on traveling, and I see the evidence from both the sides. Now logically, if you see the evidence shown on BBC and CNN and shown on Al Jazeera, compared to what is shown in Loose Change, 9/11 and various other documentaries, and especially there was an article that even came in Times of India, that there were 75 American scientists holding top posts in various universities who said that we cannot agree that 9/11 could have been done by few Arabs. It's impossible. And we are going to expose the truth. And they said that this has to be an inside job. Who? Not normal Americans, American scientists and professors. Now, here you have on one side American scientists and professors who are giving their view, and here you have clippings which are shown on Al Jazeera, which many of them say it is morphed. And as I give an example, that those who know the media well, and I give an example, that when they showed the Taliban beating the woman, one of the experts said, and there was a couple, Malaysian couple, who have been for a couple of months in Afghanistan. They're doctors, they're normal people, husband and wife, both of them doctors, and many other people. They said that because they live with Taliban, they know how the Taliban wear the turban. And what is shown on the BBC, CNN, National Geography, it is not the way the Taliban tie the turban. Because we, as non-Arabs, we do not find a difference in how the Saudi ties his turban, how the Kuwaiti ties his turban, or Emirati. But these people know there's a different style. The Saudi Arab wears a turban, the Kuwaiti Arab wears a turban. First it's the same. First most of the Chinese look alike. But the Chinese know what is the difference between the different Chinese. And they're the same thing. Once it was asked to Yuan Redley that what is your view about Al-Qaeda? Now she was there, she lived with Taliban. She went to expose the Talibans. She went to expose the evil done by them. But when she goes to Afghanistan, she's arrested by the Talibans. And when she's arrested, she thinks now she's going to be slaughtered. She's going to be raped. And she thinks this is the last moment of her life. But they surround her, and she's wondering that the last day of the life. They surround her and they are silent, and she's wondering what happened. Then after a lot of, maybe a couple of hours, there's a lady who comes and checks whether she has any weapon. She's so irritated that if you wanted me to know, she puts up her skirts and shows that she has nothing. And all the Talibans turn away. They look the other side. So she's saying that to destroy the Talibans, even if you send some undergarments by plane and drop it, they'll be destroyed. That means how what is there? This is said by a British reporter who goes to Afghanistan. And later on she realizes the way they treated her. Before she was released on one condition. They didn't force her. They said, you promise us that you'll read the Quran. So she said that once she's released, she'll read the Quran. Only on that condition they left her. They didn't demand anything. And when she was released, when the media asked her, what happened? And she said that they treated me like a guest. After that, she was boycotted from the media. So this shows how the media is biased. And I have spoken to Yon Ridley personally. She's a reporter. So same way about the inside job. When you see these documentaries on 9/11 or Loose Change again is a documentary which gives various evidences why 9/11 was an inside job. And time will not permit me to give all details. If you see my video cassette, is terrorism a Muslim monopoly? And terrorism and jihad, I've spoken about this. Just to mention a few. They said that it's not possible that an aircraft, when it collides into the Twin Towers can crumble down. Immediately the person who constructed the Twin Tower said, it's not possible that the fuel of the aeroplane can melt the iron bars of the Twin Towers. It requires more than 2000 degrees. And that's not the degree of the fuel. 2000 degrees centigrade. It's impossible. Immediately, within 2 days, the person who made the statement was sacked. Similarly, those who spoke against 9/11, the 75 scientists, even they were sent on a long holiday. They were sacked. So when America speaks about freedom of speech, why do they don't want anyone to speak against them? Furthermore, they say that if a plane is going to crash into the Twin Towers, surely it's not possible to swirl the plane with so much accuracy. And to say that a few people did training just for a couple of months, even pilots who are experienced for 20 years, for 30 years, it's impossible to turn a Boeing jet with such accuracy. Furthermore, they give evidence. How do they give evidence? That someone spoke from the phone, from the mobile, from the plane. So what they're saying in that Loose Change, that mobile companies are spending millions of dollars to let the waves reach at such a height that the plane is. Now how is it possible that the mobile phone could be heard from such a level? And what they say, that the person who spoke on the mobile, he speaks to his mother, Mark Bingham. So he tells his mother that I am Mark Bingham speaking. I am Mark Bingham speaking. Now if I speak to my mother, I say I'm Zakir speaking. I say I'm Zakir Naik speaking. So no son will tell the surname to his mother. So this shows that that was again a gimmick or a planted evidence. I'm Mark Bingham speaking, and the whole plane is being sabotaged and we are being taken as hostage. So this shows that this was a sabotage. And furthermore, one of the air hostesses saying, oh, there are buildings, there is water. All the air hostesses know that building and water is there. So these evidence is shown. And furthermore, the plane that crashed into the Pentagon, they say that the CIA is so much well informed that even a bird cannot fly over the Pentagon. And imagine a plane comes and crashes into it, and the crater that was created by that plane was round. If a plane crashes into the Pentagon, besides the body of the plane, even the wings will make some dent in the building. There was no evidence of any wings found outside the Pentagon. So it can be a torpedo which was sent. And several such evidences. You can give a lecture on that. I don't intend doing that. So based on this, I say that the evidence shown in Loose Change are far superior than what is shown on BBC and CNN. Yet, I'm not saying inside job. I said there are possibilities. Same with Bin Laden. I don't say that Bin Laden is not a terrorist. I said, I don't know. I don't say he's a terrorist, neither do I say he's a saint. I'm being neutral. Seeing the evidence on both the sides, Allahu Alam. But the evidence shown on the other side is far superior, far more logical. 75 scientists speaking, they are non-Muslims, they are Americans. Why should they speak against the government? Why should they speak in favor of Muslims? Do you think somebody has bribed them? And here, these people, 75 scientists, they give a reason. Why are they blaming Afghanistan? Because of oil. To have a pipeline through. So they're giving reasons. She said it's a conspiracy theory. I said all conspiracy theories are not conspiracy. It can either be a fact or a theory. So when she says such things, a conspiracy theory, which we have heard of it a lot, we have to hear it. And then let our intelligence judge which of the two is correct. If I have to give more weightage, I would give more weightage to the theory of inside job. Yet I'm calling it a theory, I'm calling it a fact. I'm saying it's a theory yet. Out of the two, that carries more weight, it's more logical, it's more scientific, it's more appealing. It exposes the media. But that wasn't given much of highlight because these media are being controlled by the governments. They are being controlled by vested interest people. So that is the reason I say that media can be very dangerous. And I've discussed in detail in my talk, Media and Islam, War of Peace. Hope that answers the question.
And Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir. A few questions and comments from the websites. We have Roxana Parveen asking, as a world-renowned scholar, Dr. Zakir should have put certain conditions before the show. He has his own and best reputation among them. I think he's already answered that, but she says, further comment, without certain conditions, he could have just sent his son. Would have been the youngest, yet most knowledgeable and more than sufficient person alone.
Inshallah.
I think we take that as already answered. We have Ajmal Rashid who says, okay, Arup, you're right. Be that person of any religion, terrorism should be condemned in all forms. But please tell me why the specific term Muslim terrorist is used and not Hindu terrorist or Christian terrorist or Zionist terrorist. This was the issue of debate that day. Stereotype. Zakir started with the same topic when he was interrupted. One more thing I want to add. I'm not supporting the term Hindu terrorist. I'm just saying Muslim terrorist terminology should be stopped too. Arif Muhammad says, and this debate was only to promote NDTV and nothing else. And indirectly, Barkha's so-called best journalist never allowed Zakir Naik to speak. In fact, he was speaking sense amongst all the nonsense people sitting there. Syed Ahmad says, Zakir Naik has never defended Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Rather, he said he is not sure who is behind that until he gets the truth. On the note, we throw the floor open for questions from the audience. Any brother here? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
During the show, a need was raised, like there should be a representative or a leader who can speak on behalf of Muslims. So how would you address this requirement? Jazakallah.
So of course I do agree. There should be a spokesman on behalf of the Muslims, on behalf of Islam, but that spokesperson should have knowledge of Islam, should have knowledge of Quran and Sahih Hadith, and besides having knowledge of Quran and Sahih Hadith, should also have knowledge of the media. As the Quran rightly says, that Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 43, and Surah Anbiya, chapter number 21, verse number 7, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you don't know, ask the person who is knowledgeable. So we should have a spokesperson who has knowledge on Quran and Sahih Hadith, and should also have knowledge of the media. Because when he's coming on the media, he should know how the media can twist his words. So we should have a right person who has knowledge of both, so that he can present the media, and this is the only way how the misconceptions about Islam from the media can be removed.
Yes, any brother? Yes, brother.
I would like to ask, why don't you arrange a panel discussion on Peace TV?
Why don't I have such a panel discussion on Peace TV? Yes, we can have. Not that we cannot have. Inshallah, if Allah wills. But not such a panel discussion. Panel discussion, not such a panel discussion. Such a panel discussion, twisting the view, would be un-Islamic. Even if someone pays me $1 million, I cannot do it. I'm not here to earn money. Such a panel discussion I can't have. Yes, but panel discussions, and we do have. We have had mini discussions, group discussion we call, same as panel discussion, of scholars on the Peace TV English, also Peace TV Urdu. But we had very few times that a panel discussion along with audience. This is one of the few ones that we have. But normally when we have a panel discussion, we have a moderator who is mashallah honest and sees to it that he gives that opportunity without cutting the view of any particular panelist. We have had several. I think it's called in the Peace TV English, Islam under microscope. And in Peace TV Urdu, it's called as Ilmi Guftugu. Hope that answers the question.
Jazakallah. A few comments from the website. FRK says, Barkadat has not given enough chance to Dr. Zakir Naik to speak. Instead, she was asking more to those people with Shah Rukh Khan, Sohaili, Kabir Khan, who know nothing about Islam and presenting the wrong picture to all Muslims for their financial gains. We have Shumaila Siddiqui who says, a useless show. Barka did unfair. This show was more for the publicity of My Name is Khan. It was just the wastage of the precious time of Dr. Zakir. Dr. Zakir should not attend such type of shows. They do not suit him. He is, mashallah, a great daya. He should not waste his time on such useless shows. May Allah protect Dr. Zakir from the enemies. Ameen. Ali says, they barely gave Dr. Zakir any time to explain facts on Islam, the most knowledgeable of the panelists, with the least amount of airtime to discuss Hindi films stereotyping Muslims. It was obvious they were not interested in learning how true Islam operates. I must commend Dr. Naik on the level of patience he displayed, as some of the panelists tried to give us a watered down version of Islam, and Barka that it was totally crap and biased attitude. Lastly, Irfan Jamal, he says, well, after a long sleep, I'm just reading all the comments from where I left yesterday night. I feel that Dr. Naik did make up his point in the very minute time which he got. He quoted the right verses at the right time. We continue on the discussion. TV talk shows. We are discussing this last TV talk show Dr. Zakir was on here 2 weeks back on NDTV, We the People program, dealing with stereotyping of Muslims and Muslim identity. May we have our next questions from the audience? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
During the show, Sohaili Khan had said that she had read the Bible and parts of the Quran and Bhagavad Gita. And then she said that Islam is something between her and Allah. So I just wanted to ask you whether you agree with her view. Or...
As far as the statement that Islam is between her and Allah, that Islam is the personal thing between the human being and Allah, that definition per se is correct. It is personal. It is a personal relationship. But if suppose a person says that they belong to one particular religion, and if they don't follow the rules and regulations of religion, and yet say that they are belonging to the religion, that's the problem. So someone has a personal relationship with Almighty God, that's correct. But to say that I am a Muslim, and then I don't follow the rules of Quran and Sahih Hadith, this is hypocrisy. So then I said, say, okay, it's personal, it's my personal relationship, but I'm not a Muslim. To say I'm a Muslim means I submit my will to God. The will of God is mentioned in the Quran. The Quran says, Atiullah, Rasul, obey Allah and obey the Messenger. So it is hypocritical. But the statement, it is personal, that is right. But to say it is personal and then say I'm a Muslim, or then say I'm a Christian and don't follow the teachings of the Bible. You say I'm a Hindu and don't follow the teachings of Hinduism, of the Vedas, that is hypocrisy. Similarly, if a person says he's a Muslim and doesn't follow the teachings of the Quran and the sayings of the Prophet, then he should not say he's a Muslim. He says, fine, I'm proud to be a non-Muslim. It's not a problem.
A few comments from the website again. We have Brother Muhammad Tawqir who says, Barkadat, the whole world could make out how unwilling you were to give Dr. Zakir Naik a chance to speak. You termed the show as being Muslims in today's India and allow the so-called stars of Bollywood to speak. Was it a show of reviewing movies? And are they as important topics concerning Indian Muslims? Barka, to hell with you, you have lost all the credibility. Dr. Zakir Naik and Madni Saab should have been given more time to speak and make others sit and listen. then you all could have understood what Islam is all about and not the way the so-called Badshah had to explain. A disgusting show. NDTV has to apologize to both Dr. Naik and Madni Sahab for inviting them and not giving a chance to them to speak. Muhammad Adil says, why the hell you invite a person like Dr. Zakir Naik and then in front of the whole world clearly do not allow him to complete his point? You think that with this the practicing Muslims will support the film stars? We know the reality, alhamdulillah. Just don't unnecessarily fool the public by showing such nonsense where every XYZ starts defining Islam and the real scholars are called but not given the due time to put their views. SK says, Team NDTV, it feels very, very sorry you wasted Dr. Zakir Naik's precious time. And honestly, Barkha, were you really interested to know what the Muslim identity is all about, or were you looking out for glamour goodies? The way you were busy with glamour people out there, it seemed as if asking the sweeper to do the heart surgery, a complete waste. Rizwan Basha says, as expected, when Dr. Naik was trying to say something, Barkha said, I will come back to you, Zakir, but never got back on that particular discussion. And lastly, a question for Dr. Zakir. Zakir Naik, he is tuned to provide an explanatory answer on every single occasion. In the discussions like these, you get a focus time of about 15 to 30 seconds. If you first give an analogy and try to explain the real thing, by then the discussion moderator will cut you short, even before the analogy is complete. What remains in the audience will be the half-told analogy. In this fast food kind of situation, the answers have to be very quick. If it is not possible, then don't take part in this. That would be the best situation. It will be a complete waste of time of people like Dr. Zakir. His time is better spent in some other work than taking part here. If you look at Shah Rukh, he seems to be a master of these kind of discussions. He has 2-sentence answers for almost every question that is posed. If at all something can be done, then IRF will inshallah put some effort on coming up with 2-sentence answers, and then it will be worth a discussion to watch. There's another brother, Yavar Beg, who says, as Amanullah said earlier, Dr. Zakir must train himself to respond effectively on such shows if he wants to go on them. Personally, I would strongly advise against it. There is a difference between speaking on a TV channel your own and speaking in someone else's show. I would strongly advise staying away from controversial issues as they tend to bog you down, as happened. Though I must say, I respect Dr. Zakir Naik's courage and the stand he took. Not many have the courage to speak the truth in public. Dr. Zakir's comments.
As far as the first questioner, he said that a person should answer in less than 30 seconds and a person should be trained. And he calls Shah Rukh Khan as the person who is master in this game. I partly agree, I partly disagree. If you see the full show, Shah Rukh Khan was given more than 11.5 minutes to speak. I less than 3.5 minutes. And many times he spoke more than 1 minute. So to say that a person should speak in less than half minute, it depends upon the moderator. If the moderator gives one person 11.5 minutes and the other person less than 3.5 minutes, and the questioner is saying that he was expert, that means he hasn't seen the show properly. Because Shah Rukh Khan spoke for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes many times, because he was not interrupted. Secondly, I do agree that the answer should be short. It cannot be the same as you give in a lecture. I do agree. But even if your answer is short, you can yet manipulate. And I gave a simple example that if someone asked me that what are your views about the policies of George Bush? And if I say the policies of George Bush are not good, they will chop off the knot and say that the policies of George Bush are good. So if you cut the knot, it becomes policies are good. So this statement, the policies of George Bush are not good, is hardly 10 seconds. Even that can be chopped. So the person who's giving the comment, I think, is not an expert in the media. I do agree it should be short. But if the intention of the moderator and the intention of the producer are not correct, are not honest, and if they're evil, I'm telling, even if you get the best expert, and since I'm a man of the media, if a best expert comes in front of me, and if I want to put him down by having evil intentions, which I will never do, but if just to show, you get me anyone. I will be the moderator, I will do the post-production, I will make him say what he does not believe also. It's very easy. I know this because I'm a man of the media. Not only do I give talks, I know post-production, I know handling the camera, I do editing, mashallah. I know what can be done. So what this person is saying is partly correct. But then for a person to say that a person should be trained and then come, the best trained person, if he comes for a TV talk show like this, and if the moderator has evil intention, and if the producer has evil intention, I should say he should not go on the show. So to say that IRS should come with one-line answers, we already have that on the internet. We have few second answers, we have got few minutes, we have got lectures of 1 hour. But a person with evil intention, if he's the moderator, or she's the moderator, or the producers, it's best not to go on such a show, or to have your own cameras recording it, or if such thing happens, as we receive emails from hundreds of the viewers, expose them. So this what we are doing today is exposing the truth. Exposing what happens behind a talk show. Everything what you see on the channel may not be the reality.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir, for that candid comment. Maybe have some more queries from the audience. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Brother, Soha made a comment on the show saying that majority of the Muslims are represented by the so-called moderate Muslims who are not practicing. And Brother Najib also added that they comprise of almost 99% of them. So how important is the majority, and do you think that it really reflects or is responsible for what Islam actually is?
I disagree with the comments made by Soha Ali Khan and by Kabir Khan say 99% not practicing. Yes, he may be. If he says he is one of them, I've got no problem. But to say 99% are not practicing, I totally disagree. On the other hand, there may be many who are not practicing. But today, amongst all the religions, though on census form, according to statistics, the religion which has the maximum following is Christianity, has about more than 2.5 billion. But according to statistics, the religion which is maximum followed is Islam. The religion which is maximum practiced, it is Islam. Coming to your question, does majority carry a weight? No. If majority says 2 plus 2 equal to 3, does 2 plus 2 become 3? No. 2 plus 2 will remain 4. So it is not the majority which wins, it is the haqq which wins. So democracy sometimes has a problem. In democracy, if majority says 2 plus 2 is equal to 3, then 2 plus 2 becomes 3. Which is not the case. So in Islam, majority doesn't win, the truth wins. So to know about Islam, if majority people say that Muslim means a person living in Saudi Arabia, or a person living in, maybe Lucknow, that doesn't become truth. So majority never wins, it is the truth which wins. So to know what is the definition of Muslim, you have to go to the dictionary. And there you find Muslim means a person who submits his will to God. So a Muslim is a person who follows the commandments of Almighty God and the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad.
Yes, brother.
Brother, while the show, Shah Rukh Khan made a comment about Salah, that namaz jo hai niyat se padhi jati hai, and he believes that namaz hamesha niyat se padhi jati hai. I would like to have your comments on it and the importance of Salah in Islam.
Yes, I do agree that Shah Rukh Khan had said that Salah is to be paid with. Niyat is very important. Intention is important. If there is no intention, then Salah will be like gymnastics. So I do agree with this. Therefore I said many things he said was correct. Though he said it that Salah is important, but Barkha, do you pray? So here she even wants to expose Shah Rukh Khan. He said it's important to pray, but she asked, do you pray? And then he said that I have to admit I don't pray 5 times. That means when he made a positive comment about Islam, Barkha goes out of the way to expose him. When a person says praying is good, at least he's not doing kufr. See, a person who says praying is not required, then he becomes a kafir. Based on the hadith of Sahih Muslim, that the difference between iman and kufr is salah. If a person does not pray and says it is required to pray, he's not a kafir. He's agreeing that it is a fard, it's important, but he is lacking it. He's not able to do the fard. So here Shah Rukh Khan agreed that salah is important, and his statement that salah is paid with niyat is correct, but with niyat and also the way the Prophet showed us. So Prophet did say that niyat is important. Same thing with fasting. Without niyah, the fasting is useless. It will be like starvation. But with niyah also you have to follow the rules and regulations, that you have to stop eating before the break of dawn, eating and drinking until sunset. Similarly in salah, besides niyah, even the postures are described by the Prophet. The Prophet said, pray as you see me pray. So salah is the second pillar of Islam, after Tawheed, after believing in one God. The second most important pillar, it is salah. Why? Because salah, as I say, is a programming towards righteousness. It keeps you on the right track, and that is the reason it's mentioned in the Quran and several hadith that you should pray 5 times a day minimum. Hope that answers the question.
Any questions from the brothers? Yeah? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Zakir bhai.
Wa alaikum assalam.
This is regarding Kabir Khan. He said that I am a Muslim, but I reject all the rituals of Islam. But Islam is in my culture. So what's your comment on that?
Same thing, he says, I am a Muslim, but I reject the rituals of Islam. So how can he be a Muslim? Rituals means the practices mentioned in the Quran and Sahih Hadith. The person who practices Islam is called as a Muslim. If he rejects the practice of Islam, how can he be called a Muslim? He can be called a pseudo-Muslim. You know, Islam is in my culture. See, the culture is different, Muslim culture is different, and Islam is different. Islamic culture includes the rituals. If you say Muslim culture, talking about the culture of the country, it is different. But talking about Islamic culture. Islamic culture is part of Islam. So he says he doesn't follow the Islamic rituals, but follow the Islamic culture. I don't understand what he's trying to say. Is he speaking English?
A few comments from our website. We have Hasibullah Rahimi who says, I found this program a waste of time. Fayaz Salafi says, well, it was completely a flop show, wasting our precious time, where Dr. Zakir Naik was not given an opportunity to speak for truth, to convince all these illiterate Muslims as well as non-Muslims. Shah Rukh and Karan were given every possible moment to speak for nothing. Faria Wani says, the show was more about Shah Rukh, Karan, rather than Islam. That's funny, you ask about Islam to someone who himself says, I don't have much knowledge about Islam. Noreen Fatima says, I didn't like this program, it was nothing but a waste of time. Duration of the program was very limited, plus they invited too many guests. Barkha didn't give chance to Dr. Zakir. I think this program was to discuss movies, not Islam. I don't understand why these so-called liberal Muslims don't simply accept that they don't have courage to practice Islam. They are interested in worldly benefits only. And lastly, Ikra Chuktai says, what a waste of time. Barkha was really not interested in knowing about the Muslim identity. All she was busy was in cutting off Dr. Zakir Naik's comments and not letting him complete his point of view. How sad to see people with so much knowledge and education are still illiterate when it comes to seeking the knowledge of Islam. They are so very confused and very bad listeners. On this, may we have some comments or questions from the audience? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
In this present scenario, as we see that there is so much of media deceiving, and every day there is new channel that which is coming up by the non-Muslims, and they give a biased news. So how important it is for the Muslims to start their own news channels, and what steps is Peace TV and Dr. Zakir personally is taking to start a news channel? Please comment.
I do agree with you that in the present scenario, having a news channel is very important. But you say, what are the Muslims doing for news channels? There are many Muslims which have news channels, but they aren't Islamic channels. There are many Muslims who own news channels, but maybe they may be towing the same lines as the non-Muslims, trying to get a higher TRP, trying to present what is wanted by the people, rather than presenting the truth. So we have very few or hardly any news channel which would present the truth even if it would hurt them. A person who presents the truth, as long as it doesn't hurt them, is an average person. A person who presents falsehood, for the benefit is the person who's not a good person. But the right person and the bold person, the truthful person is that which will present the truth even if it hurts the channel. So it requires such channels which speak the truth and which present what is right. As far as starting a news channel, it is there in my agenda. When will it happen? Allah alam. Allah knows. Whether we do it or somebody else will come and do it. But there's a dire need of having a channel which speaks the truth about the media, or rather having a true current affairs channel. I wouldn't say an Islamic channel, because we have Islamic channels already. What we require is a true current affairs channel which speaks the truth, and if a Muslim has done some crime, then the Muslim should be condemned after giving him a fair hearing. That doesn't mean that we should only praise the Muslims. There are black sheep in the community. So if that Muslim has done something wrong against humanity, against Islam, he should be condemned. But at the same time, we should expose those people who are trying to tarnish the image of Islam. Allah knows best when and how soon would this channel come up. But we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may He help the world have a true, unbiased news channel, so that the world will come to know what is actually happening, rather than show the things which will benefit a few people.
Our audience would, I'm sure, be interested in this critical comment, criticizing Dr. Zakir for going on this TV talk show. Is Dr. Javed Iqbal Bhatt. He writes in a newspaper article on the topic, The Problem of Being Naik. He says, Dr. Zakir's approach to debates and discussions is not only harmful to him, but also to his avid followers. Of all the errors made by the eminent Islamic scholar, Dr. Zakir Naik, none is perhaps more embarrassing. Some tend to replace embarrassing with serious. That his rash decision to enter into a studio of the NDTV. Even the little which he expressed was edited, broken and clipped to fit in with the scheme of We the People. Sandwiched between a temptingly clad Soha Ali Khan and a vice-chancellor of the Jamia Millia Islamia, he was a piteous picture. The chapter this was that heartthrob, with phenomenal memory, ended up loosening the screws of his millions of fans. Next time you tune into Peace TV, a cornered Zakir of the NDTV would flash in the mind. It was a serious error of judgment because he was pathetically unprepared. He seemed to have entered to deliver a sermon. A sermon is different from a debate. When everything else is snapped away, a sermon is a monologue. One person is permitted to speak without interruption. And similar comments from Dr. Javed. We would like Dr. Zakir to throw more light on this critic.
This is a comment that was earlier given in Amanullah, somewhat similar, but in a more lighter vein than Dr. Javed, that, you should be more prepared, etc. I'm a man of the media, and giving talks, having lectures, having debates is my profession, and I've trained many people. But again, what I would like to say, which I said earlier, that he himself was contradicting Dr. Javed when he says that Dr. Zakir Naik, he showed a pitiable picture and what he spoke was edited. So when he agrees that there is injustice done in the editing, how can he blame me? So what he should have said, that Dr. Zakir Naik did not realize that he would be edited or something like that would be much better. When he realized that these things are going to be edited, even if we get an expert, as I said earlier, even if we get an expert who's well versed in answering, if the intention of the moderator and the producer is evil and unjust and dishonest, the expert also cannot do anything. So the reason we appeared, as I said, we didn't realize that the producer of the show, I don't know who it is, and the moderator would go to such limits in editing and not giving an opportunity for me to speak. Based on this, as is the policy that I have, as far as the viewers are concerned, I thought that would be the case. I thought. But when I downloaded the views of the fans, as I mentioned earlier, I thought what Dr. Javed thought, that maybe, the people would feel very sad. But when I downloaded the views of the people from the website of NDTV, Facebook, and the other websites, I realized that 2/3 were in my favor. It was rather exposing Barkhadat. And what you're reading now, everything is there. It's not only the positive ones are being said, even the negative ones are being said. So more than 2/3 have either realized, or maybe these are the people who know the media well and realize it wasn't given. And there were some who appreciated her, the way she handled, not knowing the scenario. So what I say, that those people, whenever they see any TV talk show, they should realize that talk shows per se, they are manipulative. What they do, that they either get a person who has less knowledge on that subject. So if it's the topic on Islam, they get a person who has no knowledge about Islam, and then he does the job. The moderator need not use the skills. Or on the other hand, they get a person who's famous, and they cut him down, don't give a proper chance, like what Barkhadat did. Besides all these comments, besides interjecting me for more than 12 times, there is a way how a moderator knows when is the best time to ask a person. If you realized, when she started the show, she first asked Shah Rukh Khan a question. Then she kept on asking other people. She asked me second last or third last. Why? Because in the beginning of the show, the later you ask the person, the better it is. But when she ended the show, and she said, now we'll have the final comments from the panelist, the first person she asked was me. Why? Because the first person you ask, his remarks would remain the least in the mind of the audience. So these things are well known by us, but we cannot do anything. And that's the reason I think Javed Iqbal was impressed by Barkhadat, and that's how he hit in these comments. And even in that last final comment, she asked me a comment, and I go to make a point that the Muslims should know how to answer the media. And I said that if we notice the incidents recently that came last month about the bomb blast that took place in Pune, in German bakery, where about 9 people were killed. It came as headlines, and suspect Muslims, suspect, mind you. And the same day, the Maoists, they killed 16 policemen, proven by Maoists, no suspect. It either comes as news breeze or it comes on the front page below. Immediately Barkhadat interjected, no, even that came as headline, and she passed on, without allowing me to complain. She knew very well the point was so strong, even if it came on the front page, in most of the paper, including Times of India, the headline was, 9 people killed in German bakery in Pune, suspects Muslims. Below in the front page, Maoists killed 16 policemen. Now, planning to kill 1 policeman is a bigger news than general innocent 9 citizens of India being killed. Killing 1 policeman who is supposed to uphold the law in the country is a bigger news than killing general pedestrians on the street. 9. And that also here, the person who has done that is known, confirmed. The news article is small. The German bakery, both are terrorist attacks. So she didn't allow me to complete, knowing very well that this point is very strong. No, even that came as headline, finished. So does it mean that she is asking me and she is not allowing me to complete? So just because I made a very strong point, she cuts me down. And then immediately to help her, you have Kabir Khan interjecting. So that means she didn't allow me to give the final comments. I spoke for less than 17 seconds. So as I told you, the steering wheel is in the hands of the moderator. So here, but people realized many a time. So for intelligent people who know the media, we can really see behind the scenes. But for general layman who are unaware of the media, so I think Javed Iqbal may not be well versed with the media. But if he knows the media well, he would have made that comment.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir. Thank you for your comments, which actually turned the tables over on the understanding when it was half cut. You completed the other half, mashallah. I think the audience gets more enlightened on that. The next question from the brother at the back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
there were two females from the audience who were discussing about the hijab. First, a Muslim female said that I wear a hijab and I will explain to those who are not wearing a hijab that you should wear a hijab as a Muslim. But then a Muslim female, another Muslim female, she said that she will explain to her. That means she thinks that it is wrong. So she doesn't find it wrong that not wearing a hijab is okay for her. So what are your comments on this compulsion of wearing a hijab as a Muslim?
Yes, I do agree that when Barkadat asked this girl was wearing a hijab, and she explained that she is wearing hijab out of free will, and then Barkadat asked her that if another Muslim girl does not wear, would you mind? She said, I wouldn't mind, but I'll explain to her. That wasn't taken very well by Barkadat. Neither one of the panelists, the Najib Jung. Oh, see, that is counseling. That's the problem. That's the problem with fanatic Muslim. He said something like that. That's not the problem. That's the problem with the practicing Muslim. It's not a problem. It is the duty of a practicing Muslim. As I mentioned, Quran says in Surah Al-Imran chapter 3 verse 110, Kuntum khaira ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'miruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. That ye are the best of people evolved for mankind because we enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong. If you do not enjoin what is good and forbid what is wrong, we aren't the best of people. So Najib Jung, being a vice chancellor of Jamia Millia, doesn't know this verse of the Quran. It's compulsory duty. So he's saying it is a problem with such Muslims. It is the duty of every practicing Muslim. Similarly, that girl who said, that means she does not agree. Yes, she does not mind, but she does not agree. Similarly, when I said that if a person does not have drugs, and if a counsellor don't have drugs, then Najib Jung will be happy. Because the secular world feels that drug is wrong. So just because the secular world feels that the drug is harmful, and when I'm counseling a person who's a drug addict, don't have drugs, they're happy. Similarly, when I have knowledge of the Quran, and I know that modesty is important, and if you hear my talks on women's rights in Islam, that why is hijab required? As the Quran says in Surah Ahzab, chapter 33, verse 59, O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the believing women that when they go abroad, they should put on the cloak, put on the jilbab, so that they shall be recognized and it will prevent them from being molested. One of the reasons for eavesdropping, for molestation, for the rape, is the way the girls are dressed up. Besides the rapist being responsible, even the girls and the ladies wearing such clothes are responsible. Tali dua se bachti hai. And I've given various answers. Time doesn't permit me to give a long answer. But if you see my cassette on women's rights in Islam, I've given the reason for hijab, or misconception about Islam. What is the reason for hijab? So a girl who knows this will really want to be modest. On the other hand, the girl who is revealing more than concealing, why is she doing this? Even she knows that by revealing, more people will look at her. So she wants more people to look at her. She may not like being raped, that's a different question. But, you know, as I said, that she is responsible. So what we realize that Islam is a religion which has the solution to the problems of humankind. Most of the religions may say not to rob, not to rape. Islam has a solution how to prevent robbery. Islam has a solution how to prevent rape and molestation. But if everyone follows Islam, then who will go to the fashion shows? Who will see fashion TV? Who will see these movies? So it will be a hit on the $1 billion industry. So that's the reason this $1 billion industry, the media, is trying its level best that no one accepts this modern dress code. And that's the reason they have such show, because if everyone agrees with the modest dress code, then this industry would go in a loss.
It's appropriate that we have comments from Dr. Zakir on the attacks or negative comments received on this show. We have from non-Muslim brothers. One is Mahesh VK, who says, Dr. Zakir Naik is a big fraud. Dr. Zakir, your comments.
Fine, if I'm a fraud, where is the fraud? You point out where the fraud is and I'll accept it. Just by saying so-and-so person is a fraud, you tell me which portion of my speech was a fraud, or which action of mine was a fraud, and analyze it, and if it is the truth, I'll accept it. But just making an allegation without giving proof, it's not a work of an honest person.
Modern times requires evidence-based allegations, or keep them merely as allegations, not as statements of facts.
Or the statement was a fraud.
Yeah. Okay. And then we have another brother of a similar kind. His name is Girish. On the website he asks, only Muslims are interested in the crap of Dr. Zakir Naik. If you wanted that, you can better watch it on YouTube or some other channel. Why do you expect NDTV to allow him to lecture and bore the rest of the audience?
That you have to ask NDTV, why did they call me? If they didn't want to hear my crap, why did they call me? As someone said, maybe to increase the TRP or to increase the viewership. And the first party said that non-Muslims aren't interested in hearing me. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. For most of my talks, what we have in public, approximately 25% to 1/3 of the audience are non-Muslims. And that is the reason when you say in the question and answer session, we only give opportunity to non-Muslims to ask. And these non-Muslims, you can interview them, they have been living, and the non-Muslims know them. So it can't even be planted like the way they have in the talk shows. So that's how open we are. And even the viewership of the Peace TV, just for the knowledge of the non-Muslim, that 1/3 of the viewers of Peace TV are non-Muslims. Not only in India, in fact throughout the world, alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir. A final comment before we take a break, or any questions if any brother here would like to put forward to Dr. Zakir on this. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Brother, don't you think we are showing too much discomfort after this program and making the skeptics happy with this? I mean, I believe that you can pull it off and you can make many more opportunities after this.
That's a very good question. That aren't we overdoing it? Isn't the overreaction by us to do such a show? We'll have many other opportunities. I partly agree with you. And that's what some people said, that don't do the show. But they were more in favor. So doing this show is not mainly regarding NDTV, this show, We the People. We the People and Barkhadat are insignificant for me. I do agree with you. Don't misunderstand that this show is done only about NDTV and Barkhadat. Impossible. If this is your analysis, I agree with you totally. It's a waste of time. But this show mainly is exposing in general what talk shows are. That's the reason if you realize that the earlier 45 minutes, we didn't speak about NDTV. It is the audience which is asking me. If they ask, I have to answer. So basically, NDTV per se is not what is important. It is to let the public know what talk show is about. And since this program was aired recently, we find many questions coming on that. What I would request that even if public ask in general what talk shows are, it's important. So here what is it that we are having specific time on that issue. Though I have spoken about media, but normally when a person poses me a question in a question and answer session, the answer can't be for more than 3, 4 or 5 minutes. Here we have a couple of hours to speak about it, post-mortem it and discuss it. So it's very important that the main purpose of this show is to let the people know what goes behind the scene. And I'm sure, if you're not a man of the media, do you know that by editing, if I take your TV interview and I take your comment and I edit, as I mentioned earlier, you too would feel the slip of the tongue, which maybe before the show you weren't aware of it. Were you aware that a portion can be cut? You are aware editing is done. But even if I take your interview, you would be shocked and you will think that it was a slip of the tongue when you say that, if you disagree with George Bush, I'll make you feel as though you're agreeing. So these things, if examples are given, this is not part of the show, not part of NDTV. I gave a couple of examples of NDTV, but generally what happens behind the scene. So the main purpose of this is not overdoing it, is to expose the truth behind the TV talk shows.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir. We continue with our displeasure, discontent, distress. These kind of comments continue, a few before me now. We have Shabbir Ghani saying, shame on NDTV and Barkhadat, such a biased show. Shumaila Siddiqui says, I mean, show. The show was useless. Sami Imtiaz says, I have and keep telling that Barkhadat in a program is always trying only one thing, that's to project herself. She is devoid of any intellectual material, nor do her show offer any intellectual appeal. Masroor Ashraf says, agree with you. Over the years, Barkha has hogged the limelight. She has become more arrogant. I'm starting to hate NDTV because of her. I hope Pranoy Roy is reading these comments. Nadia Jamal says, I was your fan till yesterday, Barkha, but not anymore. After watching We the People yesterday and not letting the Islamic scholars speak who hold a thorough knowledge of Islam, let me clear the misconception about Islam. It is not the religion only for Muslims, but for whole mankind. I would advise you to read and do a thorough research before conducting shows on Muslims and Islam. On this note, we throw open the floor for questions from our brothers here. Any comments? Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum, Zakir bhai.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Zakir bhai, you are a media man. It would be interesting to know your perspective on why the media, not only in India, but all over the world, take so much pleasure in maligning Islam. What are the forces that compel these people to malign Islam at every given opportunity?
The question regarding why does media enjoy or why does the media malign Islam? Because, as you are aware, that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. And the reason they want to malign is because it is a very good way of getting high TRP. For example, you write a book against Islam and high chance it will become the bestseller. Similarly, you have programs against Muslims and your viewership will increase. Because today Islam is the fastest growing religion. And that's the reason the more the people malign Islam, these people who don't like Islam, they want to promote it. So that's one of the major reasons I feel that the media also loves maligning Islam, so that they can benefit from the viewership. Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Shah Rukh Khan is boastfully proud of being a Muslim. He even said in the program that every moment he remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this respect, what message, what advice would you give him so that his life becomes more meaningful for this world and the hereafter? And secondly, he happened to say that if his children, he won't want to teach in a stricter Islamic way. So, what is this stricter Islamic way teaching, and then what kind of values may be imbibed in the children so that they get the Islamic value in them?
The best suggestion I can give as far as for a person who says that he thinks of Allah always, the best I can say is that if he reads the translation of the Quran. He said he has read the Quran in Arabic, he has read it in English, but if he keeps on reading Quran and makes it a part of his daily life, because the glorious Quran is the most positive book in the world. It's a proclamation to humanity. It's a fountain of mercy and wisdom. It's a guide to the erring. It's hope to those in despair. It's a solace to the suffering. And it's an assurance to those in doubt. I feel if a person is attached to the Quran, that's the best guide that he can have. As far as he mentioning that he wants his children to learn Islam, and that's good, alhamdulillah. And it's nice of him to say that he wants his children to learn Islam. But he's a little bit skeptical that not the Islam which is followed by certain Muslims who he feels may be going to one extreme or one excess. So the best, what I feel, as far as the young generation is there, we should talk to them Islam with reason, logic and science. Islam is the most scientific religion, it is the most logical religion, and it is a religion which has the solution to the problems of humankind. So if you explain Islam in the right way, inshallah the youngsters, and that is the reason today we find that the younger generation, they are coming closer to Islam even than their parents.
Jazakallah. We have a negative comment from brother Sabir Bhatt, non-Muslim. He says, this on the website, hello Barkha, religions are all antiquated. Why did you have to bring in a nutcase like Zakir Naik on the show? Surah number so-and-so. Give me a break, this guy cannot think on his own. He should have sent his gramophone record instead. Isn't it time for human beings to move on and on, away from history and religions? You can learn from them, but why to? See, more make them a cornerstone for your present day thought. We have covered a lot of ground in the last 5,000 years or 1400 years. Why are these clowns dragging us back in time? I was even surprised that Shah Rukh wants to call himself a Muslim. Sorry, makes me laugh. What is he looking for now? Possibly a vote bank? Why can't we just be humans?
As far as comments that why are we going back in time and why should we call ourselves Muslims, why can't we just be humans? But naturally, as I mentioned earlier, that to be a good Muslim, you have to be a good human first. It's like someone telling me, fine, why not pass standard 10? I'm talking about post-graduation. So passing standard 10 is like becoming a good human being. Being a postgraduate is like becoming a good Muslim. So the person only is sufficient by passing standard 10, that's his choice. I want to be a postgraduate. So to be a postgraduate, besides being a good human being, I should be a good Muslim. I should submit my will to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to our Creator. And if I follow his advice, that will make me successful in this world as well as hereafter.
Maybe have some questions on general, from our brothers here. Not necessarily on the talk show. I know it is topical, it is recent, it is relevant, what we had on NDTV. Any other specific question you'd have on TV talk shows, we'd appreciate that from any of our brothers. Yes, brother.
Brother, I've always heard you saying that Muslims should know how to reply in media. And we all know that the Muslim celebrities and sportsmen, they are often on media. So what would you suggest to these Muslims to how to be interact? Because they feel like Inshallah and Mashallah is only Islam. While talking to media, they say Inshallah, Mashallah, and they feel very proud of it. So what would be your suggestion to such Muslims who are often in media?
Those Muslims who are sportsmen and who are celebrities, they are in the media, I feel that they should take this opportunity. And I feel they should be able to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now how it is done, it should be done subtly. Because if he's the sportsman, if he's the celebrity, maybe he'll be having many non-Muslims as followers. So this is a good opportunity where he can convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like he should get in his life the teachings of Islam. And if the person is a practicing Muslim, he will surely do it. Unfortunately, it's a pity that most of the Muslim celebrities, whether they're sportsmen or whether they're in the film industry, unfortunately, they're far away from practicing Islam. So that gives a very negative picture of Islam. So if they come closer to the Quran and closer to practicing Islam, inshallah, immediately they will feel that they will be good ambassadors of Islam.
We have two quick comments from the website. Javed Sheikh says, look guys, I won't blame Shah Rukh because he didn't speak anything on the Quran and Sunnah. He admitted the fact that he is not a practicing Muslim and more work is needed to be done on his part. And he honestly said the fact that we Muslims need specialists, that's people like Zakir Naik. So he respected the ulamas and scholars, just that he's having his personal jihad to be a better Muslim. He didn't offend us like the stupid Kabir Khan or Soha Ali Khan. He was keeping quiet for a reason. We have another comment regarding the talk show from Ahmad Abdullah. Says at the rate of Smart TS, well, if you go through details and a little bit of research, then you will come to know that 9/11 was well-manipulated massacre planned by American politics. More than 200 engineers and architects from America only have proved that, and Fahrenheit 9/11 exposes the truth through film industry media. And for more, you can go to www.911myths.com. Don't get driven by what big banners show you, because what they have is a proper platform, but what you have is a brain to use. We have Zainab Ahmed asking, the worst part was when Dr. Zakir was given a chance to speak. They just barged on him, and that was after they had their say. I feel the topic on Bin Laden shouldn't have risen. They would have done it on purpose. I would request Dr. Zakir to comment on this, As
I said earlier, that Barkhadat had done homework, and she knew my views, not that she was not expecting that answer. She knew that answer, very well she knew the answer, but she also knew that she could cut me down, and she would not give an opportunity for me to explain. So she has done her homework well, and I knew what was coming.
We have some comments from other brothers. Shahbaz Siddiqui says, my point is that they called him just to raise their TRPs of their show, We the People. How many people agreeing to it? Commenting on Dr. Zakir. We have Bint Abdullah saying, after all, what they did with Dr. Zakir, mashallah, he was calm and smiling. May Allah bless and reward him for his patience. Shahbaz Siddiqui says, he was not even given a chance and he was stopped every time when he came to the topic. They gave a chance to people who can run their media. Shame on our Indian media who is next to the terrorists. We would like to ask on this particular note, we've had so many comments which are people who are so perturbed, disturbed by this kind of attitude of the media, which does not let us have a clear picture about stereotyping of Muslims. And it just remains an inconclusive talk show for many who saw the program. I would like Dr. Zakir to give a more in-depth understanding of what can we do about such a situation in the modern world we live in.
Are you talking about the talk show or about the topic of the talk show?
About the talk show and how they come to conclusions which are not wholesome as such.
As far as the talk show is concerned, as I said, that most of the talk show, they have an agenda. And most of them, they're able to meet the agenda. So a viewer, therefore, doesn't know what the real views of the panelists are. Or they get a person on the panel which toes the same line. So therefore, I feel that most of the talk shows, they don't speak the truth. Therefore, I'm not too much in favor of talk shows. And this show that we are having here is made to expose what is behind the talk show. So therefore, next time when a person sees the talk show, you should keep in mind that are these people speaking the truth? Or is the moderator allowing the truth to be spoken? Or is the producer not editing it? So these things will surely, next time, all those who have heard this program would give a second thought before making the conclusion after seeing a talk show.
Many of the brothers outside and some here have raised the issue that don't we feel in India many of these talk shows, especially in the kind of societies we live in the modern world, they tend to be more inclusive than exclusive. You have to be more subtle than upright for what you say. That's what they sometimes tend to look at. How would we as Muslims tend to handle this kind of situation that we face in these talk shows?
I feel you should call a spade a spade. There's nothing of being subtle. Yes, you should speak with hikmah. As the Quran says in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 125, Udu ila sabri rabbika bil hikmah wal mawzit al hasna wa jadil millati ahsan. That invite all to the way of their Lord with wisdom and preaching and argue with them and reason with them in the ways that are best and gracious. We as Muslims should use hikmah while answering to the media as well as while being on the talk show.
2-3 brief comments from the website, Most of these comments which we are reading out before our audience are mostly on the NDTV website itself after the program was aired. I think more than 60-70% of these comments are taken from there, while a few are from other famous websites which we know of. We have Abdullah Baisa who says, I weren't even watching that channel before, but when I came to know Dr. Zakir too will be there, direct, I expected much at least to give him chance to explain the things which those people don't know. I'm sad, really sad. We have Shahbaz Siddiqui who says, yeah, exactly, you watched it because of Dr. Zakir Naik, but there was nothing from him because he was not given a chance to speak, and NDTV got the viewers. A nice plan made by NDTV. Media really sucks. And Danish Khan says, Dr. Zakir did a great job. Got to see his patients today. 3 cheers for him. Can we have some final comments on this from some of our brothers here? And any queries for Dr. Zakir? Yes, brother.
The aim of this program of ours was to expose the double standards of the media, I suppose. Do you think we have reached the aim, that is number one? Another thing is, how do we reach out to the people who are watching NDTV? I mean, this will be aired on Peace TV. What about the viewers who are hooked on to NDTV? How do we reach this exposed matter to them?
As far as have we reached or have we achieved the goal? Yes, to a great extent. To a great extent, yes. How can we reach the viewers of NDTV? I feel, besides this being aired on Peace TV, it will be aired even on other channels. Surely NDTV will not accept it. Surely. They aren't that bold. What we can do, we can paste it on the internet, on the YouTube, and make it popular. So that's one way who the seekers of truth. As far as everyone who has watched this program will not be able to see it. But what we fail to realize, that the viewership of Peace TV, according to me, is far more than the viewership of NDTV. NDTV may have more viewership in India, but Peace TV is the international channel, which has more than 100 million viewers. So in terms of that, the Peace TV viewership is bigger. And our main aim is not only to let the viewers of NDTV know about it. Viewers of all the satellite channels should know. So anyone who is a TV watcher, who watches normal channels which have talk shows, they would be aware that when they watch a talk show, what is behind the scenes.
We have a brother here, Smarty S. He says, I'm confused here. There are hundreds of videos of Mr. Zakir Naik openly saying against India and praising terrorists. He also says 9/11 was done by Americans, not by some jihadis. Why are my Indian Muslim brothers supporting him instead of SRK or Madni Sahib, who are standing against terrorism? I think Dr. Zakir would be the best one to answer
I would like Smarty S to point out a single talk of mine where I have spoken against India. I always say I'm proud to be an Indian. I'm proud to be a Muslim also. I'm proud to be an Indian Muslim. As far as supporting terrorists, in fact, I even the talk on terrorism. And the Quran clearly mentions in Surah Ma'idah chapter 5 verse 32 that if anyone kills any other human being, unless it be for murder or for spreading corruption in the land, it is as though he has killed the whole of humanity. So killing any innocent human being according to the Quran is as though he has killed the whole of humanity. I'm totally against a person terrorizing any innocent human being. What he may be saying, who he thinks is a terrorist, and who I say I don't know. So if I don't know, and I've got no proof that the person is the terrorist, I cannot condemn him. That doesn't mean I'm supporting terrorism. What I'm saying, that who they call as a terrorist, there isn't any sufficient proof to call that person a terrorist. But terrorizing innocent people in all ways has to be condemned, and Quran and Islam condemns the killing of any innocent human being.
Jazakallah, brother. May we have 2 or 3 questions from the brothers? The next question from the brother in the front.
What
What is the Muslim identity, and is it required?
As far as the whole talk show on We the People, the Muslim identity is concerned, I don't think the talk show did justice. What is the Muslim identity? And if you want to know what the Muslim identity is, you have to go to the authentic sources. That is the Quran, the Sahih Hadith. And as far as the Muslim identity is concerned, identity means the person should identify. The practice of Muslim are many. You should be honest, you should not cheat, you should not tell a lie, etc., etc. But identity means a label. And the label for a Muslim is, as per mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of death, hadith number 5892, that the beloved Prophet Muhammad said, that do the opposite of what the pagans do. Trim your mustaches and let your beard grow. So growing the beard is the commandment of the Prophet. And that is one of the identity of the Muslim. It's a sunnah. Some people call it fard, the difference of opinion. But no one says that it is not part of Islam, except those people who don't have knowledge of Islam. And the other identity is covering the head. The Prophet always, whenever he went out, he always covered his head. Sometimes with a helmet, sometimes with a turban, sometimes with a cloth. Covering the head is the sunnah of the Prophet, and this can be seen in various hadith of Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of dress, chapter number 16, as well as Sahih Bukhari, volume number 7, in the book of dress, hadith number 5807, where the Prophet covered his head. Though it's not a fard in Islam to cover, it's not compulsory in Islam to cover the head, it's a sunnah, it is recommended. So these two things covering the head, whether with a turban or with a cap or with a scarf, the gent's scarf which is called as a gatra, and sporting a beard is the true identity of a Muslim. And if a person is proud to be a Muslim, he should be proud to wear the label. As I mentioned earlier, that a doctor is proud to put doctor before his name because he's proud to be a doctor. Similarly, a person who is a practicing Muslim and is proud to be a Muslim should wear the identity, the label of a Muslim, that is the cap or a turban covering the head and sporting a beard.
Yes, brother.
Dr. Zakir, has your Muslim identity, the beard and the skull cap, ever been an obstruction for you, especially post 9/11?
As far as the Muslim identity, the skull cap and the beard being obstruction for me, as far as my colleagues or the people who are in the same field as me, that is propagation and giving lectures, I know most of my colleagues have been in tough situations, keeping a beard, wearing a skull cap, traveling to different countries, especially going through immigration. But as far as I'm concerned, alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah, this cap and beard has never ever been an obstruction before 9/11 or post 9/11. In fact, it has benefited many times. Never was I in a situation where I felt that this is causing obstruction. Yes, there were situations which were delicate, especially when I traveled to different countries. And there were many occasions where they did question me. And especially the attire that I am. Besides having a cap and a beard, I'm wearing a suit and a tie. It's a soft target. But this has always given me opportunity to do more dawah. I'd like to narrate for instance that when I'd gone to Los Angeles, post 9/11, 2001, I think it was in 2003, 1.5 years after the 9/11 attack, I went to Los Angeles. And seeing in this attire, I was expecting that there would be special interrogation for me. And that's exactly what happened. And they sent me to a special immigration officer and started questioning me. You know, telling me that, what type of a Muslim are you? I said, I'm a Muslim. Are you a Wahhabi? I said, Wahhab is the name of attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm Abdul Wahhab. I'm a servant of Allah. And asking me that, what's the profession? I said, my profession is to spread the truth. Because Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, said, it's mentioned in the Bible, seek the truth and truth shall free you. And this way the conversation went. And where the immigration officer asked me, that why have you come here? I said, I've come to receive awards. So award for what? I said, for spreading the truth. And later on when I went to the customs, I purposely said that I've come to attend a conference. Oh, conference? Okay, go for checking. And later on when I went to the customs, I purposely said that I've come to attend a conference. Oh, conference? Okay, go for checking. And when they opened my suitcase, they found one of my DVDs, the title of which was Terrorism and Jihad in Islamic Perspective. And it showed a gun on the cover. They said, do you believe in jihad? I said, yes, I believe in jihad. Jihad means striving and struggling. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, believed in jihad. No, do you believe in fighting? I said, yes, Jesus Christ said. It's mentioned in the Gospel of Luke, that take the sword and fight. It's mentioned in the Bible many a time, that you have to fight in the book of Leviticus, in the book of Numbers, in the book of Exodus. You know, there were about 8 or 9 custom officers. They gathered together and said, that, sir, can we ask you one more question? Sir, can we ask you one more question? And I told my host who were waiting for me that don't worry, I'm just doing some dawah. So I grabbed every opportunity to convey the message of Islam. I know it's a critical situation, especially when you go through immigration, through custom, crossing from one country to the other. I would not advise everyone to give the same answers as me, because they may not be well versed. And I follow the verse of the Quran, of Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verse 64, which says, "Ta'alaw ila kalimatin sawa'in bayna bainakum." Come to common terms as between us and you. Which is the first term? Allah na'budu illallah. That we worship none but Allah. And in such way, I've been to Australia, I've been to UK, and believe me, I've never been refused visa to any country in the world. And lately, after Peace TV started, I was recently last year in UK, and you know the Heathrow Airport has a long queue. So I said, oh, it'll take another half an hour. And I was towards the end of the queue. Then this Englishman who calls me, I said, okay, one more interrogation. He said, Dr. Naik, how are you? Oh, have you come for a talk? So he makes me break the queue. thinking he wants to interrogate me, but he recognized me because he saw me on the channel. He says, have you come for a talk? I said, no, I've just come to meet my friend. Okay, when are you coming again for a talk? And now, because I come on the channel and people see me and they hear my views, it is benefit. And especially in the Indian immigration. In the Indian immigration, most of the time, more than 75% of the time, when I go out of the country, when I come in, the immigration officer recognizes me, whether it's a gent or whether it's a lady. And I may have to spend some more time either answering the query or maybe giving an autograph. And most of them are Hindus, mind you. When I come through the custom, it's easier for me to walk out. Most of the time I don't have to put my bag through the X-ray machine. Someone recognized me, oh Dr. Naik, you need not go through the scanning. Many occasions, once a Hindu customer told me, Dr. Naik, jo bhi kahenge sach ke siva kuch nahi kahenge. You know, as though I'm going in a court of law and putting my hand on the Gita, you know, the Hindus do, or a Muslim putting on the Quran, ke jo bhi kahunga sach ke siva kuch nahi kahunga. So what we realize, that if these Hindus were really offended, they should have given me trouble. Because these people have seen me on the channel. Recently, when I just came up yesterday from Dubai, one person said, that Zakir Bhai mujhe complaint. I said, what is the complaint? You know, your channel has stopped coming. I said, where do you stay? I stay at Andheri. I said, go and ask the cable operator. So he's complaining to me that why has the channel stopped? So what we realize, that being in this field of dawah, it has benefited me, alhamdulillah. It has never been an obstruction. And many a time, when I go to buy something, whether it be in India, whether it be in Dubai or other parts, many a time, the shopkeeper, they don't want to charge me. Many times they want to give me a discount. Many times I go to restaurants, even the non-Muslims, when they recognize me, they don't want to pay the bill. It's not only here, it's in Holland, it's in London, and I've traveled throughout the world, and very often. So this shows the power of the media. Not only amongst the Muslims, even the non-Muslims. When they recognize, they go out of the way. And this is what happens in the police. Even the police force, mashallah, whether it be the Joint Commissioner of Police, whether it be the Commissioner of Police, and I have even been to the National Academy in Hyderabad. So, mashallah, they never have the cap and the beard ever been an obstacle. In fact, it has always been a benefit for me. I did it because of the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not for getting discounts, not for crossing the customs easier, but as we say, that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, who's the best to help you. And alhamdulillah, I'm proud to be a Muslim, and it even has a positive impact on the non-Muslims.
Jazakallah, Dr. Zakir, for those candid comments and your first-hand account, not armchair account, but being in the field in practice.
So surely I disagree with Barakadat being stereotyped. This stereotype, if you call, the beard and the cap has always helped me. It has been a benefit for me. And this is what I wanted to tell even in the show. And you could see I was always raising the hand, and, you know, as Tanvi rightly said, he was there in the show. So he could know that I was raising the hand 75% time. But on the show, you could hardly see me maybe once or twice raising the hand. And I was following the rules. I don't want to interject anyone, I don't want to cut anyone, I'm not the moderator. So here you could see that though I was trying my level best and I felt like answering every query, it was like a battlefield going in my mind, the wrong comments made by the panelist and by the moderator. I wanted to answer to every of the query, but that's not the way how things go on. You cannot have everything what you like.
Maybe the audience and maybe Allah knows better. Your patience, inshallah, would be rewarded. Allah knows His ways and plans, inshallah, in a better way. We have two comments from the website. One we have from Rizaul Islam. He says, Assalamu alaikum, all of you. Jazakallah. May Allah reward you. I totally agree with what that's all the earlier people have mentioned about Dr. Zakir. Alhamdulillah. Here you all can watch most of those documentaries. One, it is on the website topdocumentaryfilms.com/watch-online. Second, www.911docs.net. And the third one is hubpages.com/hub-best-911-documentaries. So check it up, find the truth, share people as much as you can do. Best of luck, all of you. See more. May Allah help us to spread the truth. Ameen. In another comment he further says, "It is sad for us that our lover, Dr. Zakir Naik, has not more been given chance to speak. He should have been given more chance to speak, but good things are that it was clear for us Dr. Zakir Naik has once again proved himself. He is a true and brave Muslim, especially when he talked about Bin Laden and what are the real faces of media. May Allah protect us and guide us. Ameen. Jazakallah." From brother Arif Muhammad, he says, "Firstly, Barkhadat once again proved it that media is against Islam. She asks actors like Shah Rukh who know nothing about Islam. He could be the best actor in the whole world. If you want to know who these terrorists are, then ask the politicians who take the law in their own hand. Muslims are not terrorists, and media as a whole is against Islam. And furthermore, Islam doesn't degrade a woman, it uplifts her. If in the name of art and culture you want to sell your wives, you want to sell your daughters, you all can do it. The Vedas also speak about hijab, Bible speaks about hijab. That is never discussed. And furthermore, Bhagavad Gita has more number of verses of fighting than Quran. Even Bible has verses of fighting that will never be discussed. Anyone wants to speak to me, mail me at rf_chef@yahoo.com. I am a chef and I am not a terrorist." So I think this is a new style we have developed. Professional Muslims, highly educated Muslims, this kind of Muslim and that kind of Muslim, and they have to say after that and clarify emphatically, "I am not a terrorist." I would like Dr. Zakir to comment on that.
I am Zakir and I'm not a terrorist.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair for that. Lastly, we have one last long comment and a letter from one brother. It's interesting, it's long, but you would sincerely, carefully listen to what he has got to say. So this is brother Omar Sharif of Discover Islam Educational Trust. He has analyzed the talk show carefully, and this is what he says. "Well, it was a very restless evening to start with when the masses came to know of a unique event where Shah Rukh Khan, Dr. Zakir Naik, Karan Johar, Soha Ali and others were set for a rendezvous on a sensitive issue. The event was aired by NDTV 24/7 TV channel in its regular program, We the People, with the topic of discussion Muslim identity anchored by Barkha Dutt, a woman well known to the masses in India. Interesting things were surfacing at the event. What is it? Barkha Dutt is worried about the Muslims wearing the skull caps, the Muslims wearing the burqas, the Muslims sporting the beards, and so on. I wonder why she and her team, including Mr. Pranoy Roy, haven't organized an event on the Hindu identity as well. Why can't Barkha Dutt invite members from the RSS, the Bajrang Dal, the BJP and so on, and ask them questions like, why do you wear saffron robes? Why do you drink the cow's urine while considering it to be sacred? Why do you not let the Shudras inside the temples? Why do you go naked in Haridwar? I'm talking about the Naga Babas. Why do you eat the flesh of the dead man while burning in the pyre? I'm talking about the Agoris. Why do you worship idols, snakes, monkeys and men? By the way, the list of questions is too lengthy. Hope to see an event on the Hindu identity someday. Anyways, coming to the event that was watched by many, there was a set agenda by the media people. The agenda is to pose questions in such a manner that you get an incomplete answer and make the members in the panel to argue and end up in disagreements. This is an art in itself to bring differences amongst the people, and Barkha was trying her best to do that, while her true colors were shown by her face and body language in the course of doing that. By the way, everyone is not too good to have mastered this art as Tim Sebastian of BBC has, a witty and a shrewd moderator indeed. The questions posed by Barkha were not in any way to know the reason for the skull caps or burqas, but was to show the collision between the learned and the ignorant. How can anyone expect one answer in unison from the people of two extremes? While Shah Rukh Khan himself said he does not have much knowledge about Islam, to ask his opinion on the subject is to make him make mistakes and errors. For example, if we call parents and the children below the age of 6 to share the panels and asked them one common question: is it necessary to give vaccinations to the children? We are sure about the answer that we would get. No from children and yes from parents. One need not be a PhD to know this. The children out of ignorance would say no to the injections and vaccines, while on the other hand, the parents with wisdom and knowledge would say yes to give injections and vaccines. Even though the parents know of the pain that their children would undergo, they would decide on this, being aware of the benefits of the vaccines. And that's the impact of having knowledge. Similarly, there were differences of thinking between the learned men and the ignorant men. Shah Rukh was a truthful person, for he said he does not have knowledge on Islam. Well, to say that I don't know is in itself half the knowledge. I congratulate Shah Rukh for that. But the man Kabir, who happens to be an ignorant on Islam, believes to know all about Islam. Now that's a disaster. While Dr. Zakir gave the definition of being a good Muslim, Kabir at once jumped with the comment by saying that it was a narrow understanding of Islam. Look at the ant challenging the elephant. What a miserable Kabir. Kabir never gave his broader understanding of Islam anyway. Now the moderator Barakadat got what she wanted. The idea was to snub the scholars and the learned. They got what they wanted. Well, to talk about the media's strategies to get their set mileage would get too lengthy to deal with it now. I would skip some of the comments, this being a lengthy thing, and go on to the more interesting ones for our audience and Dr. Zakir. The issue of wearing skull caps and burqas were discussed in the forum. Mr. Ali Padamsi rightly said that even the Sikhs wearing the turbans and sporting the beards as well. In fact, people of all faiths have a symbol or label to represent their community. It is simple to understand. If NDTV channel and other channels didn't have a logo, it would be difficult to identify NDTV channel. While one is scrolling through the channels, imagine if the policemen, the advocates and the doctors wore a common uniform. It would be total chaos. Lunatic fringe. This was the expression that was directed toward the religious and learned Muslims in general. That was outrageous. If the comment was made on a specific group, that can at least be tolerated. But to make a general statement on them was totally misleading. We request the NDTV 24/7 to organize a debate between Dr. Zakir Naik and Barkha Dutt on the subject, is Islam the only solution for peace in India? If the NDTV has guts, let them relay it live to the masses as well. It's time for the Muslims to use all the media to spread the true message of Islam in an upright and forthright manner. This was written by Brother Umar Sharif, who is the president of Discover Islam Educational Trust, Bangalore.
If NDTV agrees, which I doubt, I will surely love to have a debate as long as it is aired live with Barkha Dutt on any topic on Islam, even the same topic, Muslim mandate. But it should be live. It will be my pleasure.
That was the open, truthful, exposing comment of Dr. Zakir. Let it be live, let it be fair, let it be just. I am all for it to explain my viewpoint. And we hope we see this dialogue of understanding the truth coming to light someday, inshallah.
But naturally, the time given to both the speakers should be equal. It should not be moderated by anyone or changed. Equal time to both the speakers, irrespective whether it is 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. If both get equal opportunity to present the point, whether the moderator likes it or not, that is truthfulness, not to cut down or to interject.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zakir Naik, for giving us so much time, for our brothers here, as well as many watching you on television. Can we just conclude on this, the most important point we would like to know, your advice and comments to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, after all these various viewpoints, discussions, some critical, some favorable, the point they would like to ask you, your advice and comments on, should Muslims take part in talk shows?
As far as should Muslims take part in talk shows or not, point number one, whenever a Muslim sees a talk show, he should realize what is the agenda behind it. And if they see that Islam is being maligned, it can be two things. Either they bring a person who calls himself a Muslim but has no knowledge of Islam, so he makes a fool of himself, and he easily lets Islam be maligned. Or they may get a person who is knowledgeable and may not give him an opportunity to speak. So in this scenario, my advice to the Muslim Ummah, as far as attending talk shows are concerned, that if the person has no knowledge, he should not attend. But if the person has knowledge, and if he comes on the media otherwise, whether in the print media or satellite media, he should not take part in a talk show generally without putting down conditions, because there are high chances that his answer will be manipulated. But on the other hand, if a person has knowledge on Islam and is well versed with the media but has no opportunity to come on the media, then he should take part, so that at least the damage done by the media is minimized. As far as my final advice to the Muslim Ummah is concerned, that whenever they watch any channel, whether it be a news channel, whether it be entertainment channel, whichever channel it is, keep in mind that one of the main agendas of the media is to malign Islam. So whenever they find that Islam is being maligned, don't be impressed by it. It may be a distorted form. Therefore, if you see my talk, Media and Islam, War or Peace, I have said in detail how does the media go to different extents in trying to fulfill the agenda. That's the reason I personally am not too much in favor of news channels. Because according to me, news channels are more dangerous than the other channels. Because the other channels may have certain haram on it, maybe dancing, maybe singing, maybe pornography. But the news channel, it endangers the iman of a Muslim. It can lead to kufr. Therefore, according to me, the news channels are more dangerous than the other channels, especially for a Muslim. It can attack his iman and lead him to kufr. Therefore, beware. Whenever you watch a news channel, don't get swayed away by it. When you read a newspaper, even the newspaper is biased. But for an average man to decipher the wrong information given in a print media is easier than on a news channel, a television channel, because a television channel involves vision and audio. And if that is manipulated, a layman may not know the difference and will think that actually happened. That's the reason, be careful next time you watch any news channel or talk show, and then inshallah you may be able to decipher, if not all, at least part of the deceit of the media. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah bil alamin.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making possible this interactive and analytical forum on TV talk shows for all of us present here today, as well as the millions who'd watch this, inshallah, on television. We thank all our brothers who have given us valuable inputs, queries, and concerns as a contribution to this program. And we thank Dr. Zakir for giving us his valuable comments, his clarifications, his conclusions to the analogy which was presented in a distorted form in some of the programs, giving us an idea how in some programs, if they're presented right, it does such a great good for Islam. In programs which are distorted, it can equally cause harm to the proper understanding of Islam. And in some programs, a mix of both. Where we need to take care, be aware, and where we need to take advantage of the opportunity, where we need to be careful about the threat. These are issues we learned well on this program, and we hope we share it with all those we meet beyond the realm of this interaction and knowledge. Thank you, Jazakallah khairan, for being such a nice audience and presenting such a good forum before all who would continue expressing this message on what TV talk shows are all about beyond this program itself. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.